All right, we're recording. So you guys ready?
Oh yeah.
All right.
Oh yeah.
What's going on, gang? And welcome back to another episode of Scared of Normal. If you haven't watched or listened to the first episode yet, go back and do that so you can understand what we'll be talking about here. This episode is going to consist of the story of traction. So the idea of traction in its infancy, through the first couple of years, where we stand now, and where we plan on going. So if you don't know, I'm Mike. I'm the co-founder or a co-founder here at Traction, and sitting across from me is...
Yep, Sean, co-founder, and we have a new face in here. Please state your name and what do you do?
Yeah, my name's James Stokoe. I'm a professional photographer, and yeah.
Where are you from?
Oh, from the northeast of England, but I now call Colorado my home. Been over in the States almost 20 years, so my accent's all over the place for sure. Yeah.
You go home and try to act normal?
Dude, I go home and it gives me a couple days of like I've got that Yank accent going, and then I'll just go back into normal. And as soon as I go back into normal, I'm calling everybody in America that I can that just like, hey, listen to my accent. I'm Pip Pip Cheerio.
Mostly the girls that you want to talk
Yeah,
to.
okay. Yeah, that's exactly what it was.
Well, thanks for being here.
No,
Heck
I
yeah.
appreciate it. I appreciate the invite. So yeah, I'm super stoked to get to talk to you guys because obviously good friends with both of you, but don't really know the whole background story of Traction. You know, I've been around it. I've been in the roastery. I've hung out with you guys plenty, but again, I don't know how it all came about.
Yeah, it's a good story. And for those that don't know, James and I met on a photo shoot. He obviously is a professional photographer. And yeah, it's interesting to hear you say that because like from our level, I'll be like, how do you not know? But
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, like everybody should know.
yeah,
But
totally.
I guess, when I step back and really think about it, I'm like, we haven't done a great job of like telling our story.
Yeah.
We've told it along the way, but there's so many new faces that weren't there since day one.
But it's hard. Yeah, we're like so close to it, so we live it every day. So,
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
but
Yeah, so yeah, James is going to help us kind of moderate this. And I guess down the road when we start interviewing other people other than ourselves, we're going to have an episode with just you. So
Oh.
I look forward to that day.
And that gives me anxiety.
when do you not have anxiety? We were at the coffee shop this morning. Oh my God. Like just working away. And he's like, I can't work. And I was like, what? He's like, I can't stop listening to them.
Dude, we were talking about that when you left the room for a second. I was like, dude, I can't work in coffee shops either because I'm like, I listen to every conversation in the room by default. I can't like turn that off. So I'm like, I have to have my music on. And I'm like, all right, what am I missing out on in here?
Well, that's it. And then you start like looking at the seriousness of the faces, and I'm only grabbing like a little bit of information from each of them. And I'm totally eavesdropping. Like it's totally rude. I know it is. But the thing with it is that my imagination starts going, and I'm like, oh, what's he talking about? So I got into this whole thing. There's two gentlemen, one a wee bit older than the other one, and they were talking about some kind of church group that they go to or that they don't want to go to or something like that. And then I get it in my head. I'm like, oh, the older one definitely like had this big, like he made a fool out of himself at the last church meeting. He jumped up. He was rude to everybody. And then this is the younger dudes, the pastor or whatever,
no.
taking the old guy out for like a cup of coffee just to smooth out the whole thing. So anyway, yeah.
It was so funny.
That's
so
awesome.
just to like end that, like I was working on keyframes and like so buried in that work. I had my noise canceling headphones on and like
You look
got-
over at James and he's just sitting there looking at these guys.
No,
like
not
he's sitting
even.
there with them
I'm like
in the
staring
conversation.
around like, this is rad. What's going on?
No, not even. So I get done. I'm like, you ready to go? He's like, yeah, I need to get out of here. And we get into the car and he like recaps me on this whole story. Like he lived a different world in that coffee shop than I did. I was just like plugging away, like feeling pretty productive. And then he came back and he's like, dude, did you hear that? And I was like, what are you talking about? But
I was like, I got no work done. That was completely unbeneficial for me to be there. It was a cool coffee shop, though, so I was stoked to go down there and check that out.
all right,
That's
Traction
awesome.
2018.
Yeah,
yeah.
no, let's start about that. No, let's back up a second. Okay, so how did you two meet each other?
Oh, wow. So we're going to really throw it back. So I guess.
Louisville, I
Yeah,
guess.
Louisville. So this is probably 2008, I think.
Has to be high school.
Because like Joe's bike shop was still pumping. That was the thing.
Yep.
Yeah, and Louisville Skate Park, which is like in today's world, it's not a great skate park. Every time I go back there, I'm like, why did I used to think this place was incredible?
Dude,
but
I think it had lights and
yeah,
just
it was
the
one of the
vibe.
first that like, you know, had a good community. Like, yeah, the lights were super helpful. Like, I remember riding there when it was like -5 degrees outside at night, you know, like
Totally. But I think it was the crew. It was like, you know, Trevor, Rory, you know, Fitzy, Davis.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like those are the people that you came. You knew they were going to be there every night. And that's how we met. Just skate park, BMX. We both raced BMX.
but
never
not at the same time, I don't think.
We just missed each other.
Yep.
I was getting into mountain biking and moved to Colorado. And then right as I switched to mountain biking, you were kind of coming up. And like, yeah, we just missed each other, but found each other freestyle BMX, obviously park. And then kind of fell off for quite a few years.
Yeah,
I
don't think we reconnected until we were just talking about it like 2016 probably.
Yep, Hall Ranch, mountain bike ride.
No, it was before that.
Was it?
Before that? Yeah, it was at the Rebranch.
Oh, that was
Yeah.
Rebranch. So
Yes.
2014 probably, 13.
No, it was after that because I was working for Hotbox, which
Yeah.
we'll get into in a second. But yeah, we had these jumps. A buddy of mine built some really cool jumps on his property, and we had a jam and. I had a broken foot, and you fell off like a trampoline or some
Broke
shit.
the same foot. So we're both on crutches.
Watching everybody ride bikes.
And we were just like, dude, what's up? And started talking coffee, and we just like hit it off with coffee and bikes and just catching up. And that was refreshing, dude. It was like, it was so funny. It was like perfect.
Yeah. It was like one of those connections where it was like, you know, it had been, I don't even know, almost a decade at that point probably since we'd really hung out. And then, yeah, it was just back to like just chilling. And that was cool. And then it was probably another year went by after that. And that's when we saw each other on Hall.
Yep.
And you were like, hey, I got a Slayer. Come over, bring some coffee.
Totally.
And I was like,
Back up a second. What's a Slayer? Explain that to me.
oh, yeah.
So yeah, just a real expensive espresso machine I'd been Googling or like drooling over and finally pulled the trigger on it.
Think of it like this. Like if a Breville is a Honda Civic, the Slayer is the Ferrari.
Oh,
so
damn.
that's like the levels here.
So you probably sold a bike or something.
No.
How did you get that Slayer?
Well, first step is convincing yourself it's a good idea. So like I did the math and I was like, dude, well, I'm going to the coffee shop this many times a week. If 3 years go by and I save, you know, X amount, I can pay it off in this many. So I go to my credit union. I was like, I need to double my credit limit because, you know, I'm a broke mountain biker. I'm racing.
Yeah.
And they're like, sure, whatever. So I just stacked this credit card and had a buddy that got me a deal on it. And yeah, I just stacked a credit card. And I was like, dude, I'd be losing money if I didn't buy this thing. And which in a roundabout way started traction.
Yeah.
This espresso machine, you know,
Right.
connected
Yeah,
us.
well, that was the thing. Like he tells me, oh, yeah, I just got a Slayer. And like I was like, oh, that's cool. And I'm like riding back to the car and I'm like, how in the fuck does he have a Slayer at home? Because like at the time at Hotbox we had two, and like they're not cheap. So I'm like, how does Shawn have a Slayer? So I like remember getting home that night, like messaging him on Instagram, like, all right, like when are we hanging out and pulling shots on that thing?
Yeah. So roundabout me stacking my credit card and just being a D-gen started traction. So, you know, if there's something, that gut feeling, just go with it.
Just go with it.
Gotta go for it.
So-
All right. So back up. So you were at Hotbox during this time, right?
Yep.
When you guys got back together. What was Hotbox?
So I had started like riding BMX for a brand that Oscar Blues owned, the bike brand called 𝙎𝘾𝘼, which is beer spelled backwards. And you're familiar with 𝙎𝘼𝘼.
Dude, I've got a very soft spot for 𝙎𝘼𝘼. 𝙎𝘼𝘼 was one of when I was like first. I was kind of starting to try and establish myself in the bike world, and Adam Procise over at 𝙎𝘼𝘼. I brought down with him at every race I could see him at, hang out with him.
The dude.
And dude, that the whole culture behind 𝙎𝘼𝘼 is like, it's still to this day. It's one of my favorite bike brands.
Totally.
Easy.
Barn built, baby.
Barn built.
It's so sick when I drive by.
I literally, I mean, that's why I got sucked into it. You know, like I was always infatuated. Like I have never really talked about this to anybody, I guess, but we'll talk about it here. Is in high school, I wrote a paper about Dale, which is the guy who started Oscar Blues and 𝙎𝘼𝘼. And so I had always been infatuated with the idea of that culture. And so I was like, how can I get involved over there? And like I was riding for, I think, Free Agent bikes at the time. And one of my dad's friends who went on these like Tuesday night mountain bike rides up in Lyons was like, hey, they're looking to like build a BMX bike. You should get Junior to go ride. And I'm like, okay. I did not hardly ride mountain bikes at all at this time.
This is Junior for people that don't know.
My dad is senior. Sorry. So yeah, I like go on these mountain bike rides at night. You know, like
Were they called the Reeb Romps?
this
back
was before
then?
Reeb
Oh, it
Romp.
was
This was
before
like
that. Okay.
TNR Tuesday night ride.
Oh.
And so my dad's like, here's some lights, have fun. And I'm like, dude, I've been on 3 mountain bike rides. What am I getting into? And I just remember that night, like they called it Lions Ghetto single track. And I just got tomahawked down this hill, dude, with lights on. And just everybody sees me from the bottom. I'm tumbling the whole way down. But that like kind of got me into Reeb. And I'm riding for Reeb for like 3 or 4 months at this point. And we went to the brewery to shoot a photo, and I'll put it in the video if you guys are watching it. But I found out that Dale had a pink Camaro on 32-inch rims that used to belong to Big Boy from Outkast. So like heard this through the rumor mill, and I was like, I want to jump over that car.
Whoa.
Insert photo now.
Yeah.
No, back up. We need more of this 32-inch rims?
Oh,
It's
spinners.
insane, dude.
Yeah. Candy pink paint.
On a Camaro, you said?
Oh, yeah.
Holy shit.
He just sold it too. Didn't
Yeah,
he?
he just sold it at auction. But
No
yeah, this
way.
thing's ridiculous, dude.
I've never seen that photo. I
I'll
need to
show
see
you.
this.
I'll show you
Yeah.
like all the videos of the inside. It's the craziest thing. So me being like wanting to be riff-raff, you know, I'm like, yeah, dude, like I'll
Oh,
jump
yeah.
over that car.
Yeah.
So it shows up. I jump over the car.
That's what it looks like.
No.
Yeah.
Seriously, that's it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I did not have that in mind. That's
So,
sick.
well, here's the worst part. It pulls up, and I'm like, gonna bunny hop over a loading dock. Well, first, I didn't know how I was gonna do it. And the car pulls up, and I'm like, damn, this thing's like 6.5 feet tall.
Yeah.
So we pull up to the loading dock, and it was like the worst situation. I had to like pedal wheelie through a door, pedal wheelie through another door, and then bunny hop immediately.
Are you on a mountain bike or a BMX?
BMX?
BMX, okay.
And like I had never met Dale up until this point.
Okay, just real quick though. Dale, obviously Dale's pale ale.
Yep.
And he started Reeb because, and I may be wrong on this, but my understanding was he started Reeb because his bike got stolen.
Yep.
And he was like, fuck this, I'm building my own bike.
And it was always kind of like that mentality over there was kind of just like more or less like, fuck the man, we can do it.
Yeah.
You know? And so that's why they did it. But yeah, so I jump over this car, I meet Dale, and I walk around the corner and he's sitting there roasting coffee. And I was like, whoa, that's really cool. And like I had traveled all over the country with BMX, so I like had started spending a bunch of time at coffee shops, and I was like, sick, you're roasting coffee, that's really cool. And we started talking about it, and I basically found myself into a job through kind of just talking about coffee.
And that was Hotbox.
At the time, it was called Can O Beans.
Okay.
I didn't know that actually.
Yeah.
Huh.
So right as I like started coming on, they were like, hey, we want to like, this isn't owned by Oscar Blues, it's owned by Dale. Like we want to give it its own name. So we kind of like started spitballing names, and yeah, Hotbox Roasters came up. Yeah, kind of inadvertently over a weed joke. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was super fun. And yeah, so I meet back up with Shawn through that as I'm running this company.
Right.
Yeah, I kind of just got thrown into the deep end with that. Like, didn't know really anything about coffee or business or marketing or anything at the time. I just thought it was cool and just got thrown full into the deep end.
And that's at Hotbox.
At Hotbox, yeah.
Hotbox just got thrown in the deep end. Hey, we want a roastery.
I always say it was like my free master's degree, because I just like learned everything that I know how to do today through that experience. Because I was just like, I just didn't want to fail. You know, I was like, this is super cool. It's a cool opportunity. And yeah, I basically ran that company on and off for 3 years or so. While people would get hired and fired and hired and fired, I would just come back, pick up the pieces, put it back together, and keep the dream alive, really.
Would you say Dale's your mentor in a sense, like from a business side?
I think so. Like
Yeah.
I mean, it was so cool to be able to see how he operated and like see the freedom he gave people. Like everybody was always like, oh, you get enough rope to hang yourself,
Yeah,
you know,
totally.
and which is a cool thing, because
So
like not a lot of places are the opposite, where you like don't get a fuck up. And if you do fuck up, like you're in a lot of trouble. At Oscar Blues or Hotbox, if you did mess up and you owned it, you were rewarded, which was
Right.
cool, you know? So like,
Well, because you learned something from that, right? And
Yep.
you're like, God damn it, I'm never going to do that again.
totally.
Because it still weighs on you.
But you're willing to take risks at the same time. Whereas like I
Right.
feel like you have this tight guard on you. It's like you're just gonna be a yes man because
Oh, you're
you
going
know,
to play it safe
so
down the
safe.
middle, and you're like,
Yep.
Yeah.
we don't want
So-
to ruffle any
Which
feathers.
plays into a lot of like why the culture at Traction is the way it is, because we got to learn that stuff again through like this free master's degree program.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that I was there for almost, I guess, 3 years. And that was like right at the end of that is when Shawn and me had reconnected. And it had to be, I think it was June, right? When we first started talking about traction.
I feel like it was right before that, but June was when I got real serious.
And I
think,
like
started looking at roasters.
And I think it happened because not a lot of people probably know this either, but we have the same birthday.
Yep.
So we probably like talked over that, and
Hold
it was just like,
shout out to June 27th.
Yeah.
June 27th.
You can only work at Traction if you have a June 27th birthday.
Yeah.
So if you got a June 27th birthday and want to apply, hit us up.
Fast track to employment.
You know Rex Carrillo?
Yeah.
Carrillo? I'm saying that wrong. Sorry. He has the same birthday as us.
No way.
Yeah. I was like, you need to come work at Old Traction.
Hell yeah.
So 3 years goes by. I hit you up. We start spitballing
Wait,
Traction.
back up a second. Sorry. So I keep up. You're talking 2018?
Eighteen.
Yeah, this is 2018.
June
Yeah, like
18.
mid 2018.
Okay, sick.
And like I had been approached by Dale, and he was like, "Hey man, like I'm kind of over this coffee thing. Like we had put a lot of money, or he had put a lot of money into it, and through the years of different people coming and going, like there had been some rough decisions made, like, and it just wasn't doing what it should have been doing. And I was the first person that he offered it to buy it,
Holy
just
shit.
because he was ready to step away. And I was like, dude, so honored. And I did everything I could to start figuring that out. But literally right at the same time, that conversation started in May. And right at the same time, almost, Shawn hits me up. And I'm like, oh man, like, yeah, I'll help you out with your coffee company, Shawn, but I think I'm going to buy my own. Mm-hmm. And then the opportunity to buy the coffee company turned into, okay, well, I don't have the kind of money to do that. You know, I know people that could lend me the money, but is this what I want to do? So I tell Dale, you know what? I'll help find somebody to buy it. And thankfully that happened pretty quick. And so I tell Shawn, I'm like, yeah, I'm super down to still help you out, start your company. I don't know what that looks like, but I'm going to stay here.
Yeah.
And so these guys that are going to buy Hotbox, they're like, we're kind of going back and forth, and they had like a 1 month due diligence period and to decide if they wanted to buy it or not. And halfway through that, they decided that they didn't want me to be a part of it anymore. We just like didn't see eye to eye, a lot of headbutting going on. And I was fortunate enough to be told about that before like the plan that I heard was they were going to make me sign a non-compete and then fire me. Like hire me for a day after they bought it, sign the non-compete, fire me so I couldn't work in coffee.
Dude.
Thankfully, I got a heads up on that and didn't do that. And I remember so vividly finding out that was happening and texting Shawn and saying like, all right, I'm 100% in to Traction. What do we need to do?
Do you think that you had a little bit of like, fuck you guys, watch me
Oh, yeah.
Oh, dude.
moments?
The beginning was
Like,
like,
I'd love
how
to
do
see
we-
that
yeah.
text.
You should have
Like,
seen how fired-
angry were you
dude,
in
Yeah,
that text?
totally.
As
the
like-
beginning of the fire was just burning, dude.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
the gasoline on the
Yeah.
fire right there. And I was just like, well, like kind of the same thing like over there. I was just like, I kind of was the face. Like I was the person who was going out and doing the sales and talking to the people and doing all the things. So like, it's like all the customers, like I pretty much got all of them. So I was like, cool. I just called all my people. Hey, keep buying your coffee for a little bit, but we're starting this company and we'd love to have you. And
Yeah.
that's what we did. We just took the people who we knew,
Yeah.
you know, and inadvertently put them out of business after a couple of months or a year or so, which
Hotbox is no longer a company, right?
yeah, which I mean makes me a little sad because that was my baby,
Sure.
right? Like, and but I mean, how sad can I be? We're living the freaking dream over here now.
Oh,
so.
yeah. Well, let's rewind a little bit. Okay, so we're talking June 2018-ish or something. So when did you buy your Slayer?
Maybe I bought it late, maybe December 2017.
Yeah,
and it landed.
so right on track then.
Yeah.
You're just like, I have now got a new passion.
Totally.
Fuck everything. I'm going balls to the wall.
We'll probably dive into this deeper, but yeah, like fell in love with coffee. It was the first thing that I became obsessive with outside of biking. Like biking, I just cared how it looked in the air, like how it looked in the corner. And I think if you take a sport or anything to a very high level, you're obsessive with it.
Yeah, you have to be. It's like masochistic almost too, you know?
Exactly. And then I just like was searching for this perfect espresso or pour over, and I was like, like I need to take this somewhere. There's obviously something here. And I think a lot of people have that, and I think they really need to step on it. And coffee, I was just like, I would have this shot of espresso and be like, I need that. Like I need to have that. So I was doing it I bought the espresso forge in 2016 to travel with when I was traveling in my van. And then I was just like, all right, do I buy a $3,000 machine, or do I like go to the top? Do I have that like upgrade Titus or whatever you want to call it? Like, I don't want to buy this machine and then just eventually buy this machine. So yeah, 2017, I go get, talk to my credit union and be like, hey, I need to like double my limit, yada, yada.
I need this.
I have to have it.
I have to have this slate.
If
I'm going to do something, I'm going all in.
Oh, without a doubt. That's
totally. It's how we live, right? And it's, if you don't back down and you live by it, it's fine. It's like, go pay it off and it's worth it, right? And I don't regret that decision at all. And yeah, so it landed in, I would say probably January, February. And yeah, like any coffee nerds I knew, I was like, yo, come pull shots with me. I was so stoked on it. And traction is sprouted from the ground. So yeah, 2018, obviously June, we start talking about it. We start talking about what roaster we want, where we're going to land it, the brand design, what the name is. Like, there was so much, and there was so much urgency around that.
And I think it's also worth saying at this point that we also had a third partner involved at this time.
Yep.
I don't want us to brush over that either,
Totally.
So because that was a big part of why we stand where we stand today too.
Yep.
So yeah, we had a third partner involved, and it wasn't a bad thing.
He was crucial in the beginning,
Yeah.
and then we thought he was a very different person than us. Like, Mike and I, on so many aspects in life, live by the same way, and we thought, like, this person just see something
just
different.
like a good counterbalance to our nonsense,
Exactly. And he came with a lot of great things, and then when it came to money and financials, like, it didn't see. Like, Mike and I are that masochistic, like, we'll work for free for however long if our business grows. You know, like, we can put it back in and let it grow. We'll do that for 20 years if it needs, or however long, right? And
we'll figure out how to eat if we need to.
Yeah.
But like,
it's not about the
this
money,
thing can't
it's
die.
about the product.
And
Totally.
I think that's why you and I bonded so much. Like,
Yeah.
I lived out of my van for so long, and when I met you, you were living out of your van, doing the professional photography thing, and it's just it's all about the dream. And
Yeah, it's about the dream. It's not about the money. It's not about any of that stuff. It's about just following your passion and just being so stoked that you have the opportunity for me to pick up the camera and go out there and
That's exactly
shoot
it.
what you love.
whatever I can shoot.
And I think to show that, like, you got a traction tattoo 3 days in, right? Like, on your arm.
Yeah,
but
I
that's
don't know
like,
if that counts
dude,
as- yeah, but yeah.
day one, like, we were like, we're homies, right?
Yeah, we're
and
homies right off the bat.
that was the biggest problem with our partner, is the financial side. I think what brought us together was that biking piece, and it was like, hey, you have to build your own brand. It takes 3 years of like this internship to like actually have something grow.
Yep.
And that was the biggest thing for mountain biking for me when I became a professional. It was like, hey, yeah, you gotta like put your time in. You gotta hurt. You gotta hurt. Exactly. And I think we both saw eye to eye on that, and it let us grow.
Yep.
Whereas
we paid those dues,
Yeah.
and like I always go back to like the bike riding thing with pretty much every aspect of my life. It's like, if I didn't have that, I would relate life so differently. I would think about life so differently, right?
I can't even rationalize that.
Because like everything in my life, I'm like, oh yeah, it's like learning a new trick.
Yeah.
Like that took, how many times did you fall down learning a toboggan the first time?
Totally.
You got smoked over and over.
Totally.
You might not remember that process, but it happened. And so same thing in normal life. It's like when, we were just talking about learning Adobe programs, right?
Oh yeah.
So like, think about I relate it back to a trick. I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to be good at this the first month I do this. You know how long it took me to make a turn down look really good? Years, dude. So yeah, it's cool that we have that relation point, I guess.
Totally.
Yeah, so you two had this relation point. You had a third partner that may have not seen eye to eye and stuff, but how quick did the name Traction come about?
Pretty early on. I mean, that was like the first thing. I think that happened before we even bought the roaster.
It was around,
It was right around the same time.
Totally.
And we were just kind of sitting around, like trying to figure out what kind of company we wanted to be. Obviously we ride bikes. We love bikes. That's the biggest portion of our life leading up to Traction. So what were we going to make this thing into? And we really sat down and decided we didn't want it to be like a bikey dude coffee company, even though we rode bikes.
But yeah, it's like almost to pay homage to it, but like, not pigeonhole yourself into this bikey dude. It's like, have like the
You don't want every piece of marketing that you have from here on out have to be related to bikes, for example.
Having like a rock garden roast makes me want to drink bleach.
Does it?
Yeah.
I was like, dude, that sounds like a pretty good idea.
That's why you don't work attraction.
But that, and I'm not born in June.
But think about yeah, true.
Yeah.
But think about like some random person who's never touched a mountain bike in their life. They're like, what the fuck is a rock garden?
Totally.
What is that? And that's
You think about some nice, pretty landscaping.
Yeah.
Hardscaping.
And so we early on, we were fortunate enough to have this perspective of like, we don't want to be a very niche based company. We want to be not necessarily broad, but we want to appeal to a broad audience, like-minded broad audience, but broad. And that's why we went away from like being a very bike focused name. And we felt like traction was like, that's something that applies to everything you do every day. Like you don't move forward without having traction.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, like in a career or driving your freaking car, like all those things require, having a grip on something and moving forward.
And that was an aha moment when traction came up, or
were
you both pretty stoked on it, or like?
Oh, yeah, right as the name come up, everything else dropped.
I remember we were sitting there. I was like, "There's no way that this hasn't been used yet."
Yep.
And so we like start doing the Google thing, and I was like, "Okay, like there isn't a traction coffee." So I think that day, like we bought the domain. We got the social media pages. Yep. Like we just locked it down because I was like, this name is too good for us to like sleep on it for a couple days. Like even if we didn't use it, we needed to own that domain
$200
stuff.
later. Yeah, you're fine. Yeah.
So that's kind of what we did, and like from there, it was just like, all right, let's put our heads down and make this real.
Yep. So brand development came very quick. We had the name. Mike got into the website design, like the logos. We'll do another episode on this, but like just the logo alone, just the iterations are amazing.
And for reference on that, like we'll do our own episodes where we talk about like Sean's journey through coffee and where he's at today, mine, same thing. And we'll kind of elaborate on these things we're kind of brushing over. But just for reference on the design stuff, like I had never opened Adobe Illustrator up until the day that I guess I had opened it a couple times, but I had never like made anything worth a shit.
You opened it long enough to get pissed off with it.
Yeah, exactly.
Closing this.
I opened it to like change like colors at Hotbox. That's all I did. Like to change color. Like that's my extent of knowledge with that program at that point. And we really sat down and we're like, all right, we bought the roaster. That was what, $19,000.
Yep, and that was self-funded, like selling bikes and like just scrapping,
just pulling it all together any way we could. And then I think after that we had in the bank account we had $8,500, and we had a roaster, and we didn't have a place.
We had a pallet of coffee.
No, we didn't have a pallet of coffee yet. This is like. We had nothing. We didn't even have a place to put the roaster.
I'm gonna agree to disagree, but I think we had a pallet of coffee right next to it when we were like fully scrapped. I remember that moment where it was like you reached out to both of us and you're like, do not use your credit card.
Totally. Well, yeah, but that was
that
like
text.
a month in.
Yeah, totally.
But like, at the point of like creating the brand, like I remember looking at in the bank account, and I think we started with $8,500, and we like. Bought some buckets to put roasted coffee, and we bought a few things, and it was like, day 15 of. We basically started really cracking on this like September 1, and I remember looking in there like 15 days in, and I'm like, oh shit, like we don't even have coffee yet. We don't have a place to put the roaster where we're gonna roast yet. What are we doing?
Yeah, the sick logo though.
We
had a sick name.
Yeah.
What more?
But that's why the logo came. Like that's why I took that project on. I was like, we can't afford to pay somebody. I know like what style of logo we want, and I know what that's gonna cost.
Yeah.
And then the website was the same thing. It was just like, dude,
we have $900 in the account.
Yeah.
Like we have to.
We
do
can't
it, right?
afford to pay somebody to do this. So same thing. Like I just sat there and freaking cracked away on a website, and thankfully like. That was a skill from Hotbox. Like we had basically like, I always hate saying it this way, but like almost an endless pocketbook. But I always like to think about
Hotbox.
Hotbox.
Hotbox, yeah.
But I always like to think about the money like it was my own. So I didn't want to spend money frivolously. So when we had like an agency who was fucking up with the website, I was like, they're fired. I'm going to learn how to do this.
Oh yeah.
And I'll never forget like talking to this agency, telling them what I wanted, and they were like, we're not going to give you the admin credentials because you're not a professional or something. Like, they were so disrespectful, and I was like, I'm gonna be better than you like ever could be, kind of thing.
That. Yeah.
And that's why like I learned the website thing, and like I didn't think that it would ever pay off in the way that it has for Traction.
Totally.
You know, like I never thought that skill would go beyond Hotbox.
Well, yeah, but it's also that whole thing of like, fuck you, watch me kind of vibe.
I think we need to bring that back a little bit, because I think the reverse psychology it's how we work. You know, it's like, you won't do this. I'm like, fuck, I will.
I'll do it better than you could even think was possible.
We need to bring that back.
Yeah.
I think we'd be like 2 steps
we'd
forward.
be leaps and bounds ahead of where we are right now. You know, but yeah, so we get through you know, logo design, website stuff.
We have no place to put the roaster though.
Yeah.
So like we have a place that we dropped. It was commercial space in Longmont, but we get to put the stack out. That's all we needed to
like
put.
the venting for the, like when you're roasting coffee, it produces smoke.
Yeah.
So it needs to like vent outside.
And we get quotes, and it's $50,000, and just like this absurd number around $50,000 for like everything. And we're just like, are you kidding me? And so we're just like, all right, well, we can't do this. We're not taking out a loan. So Mike went on a bike trip in Crested Butte, met a man named Chris 𝙎𝘾𝘼𝙍𝙬👐, who is the man.
Yeah.
And
shout out Chris 𝙎𝘾𝘼𝑍𝑐.
Yeah. He's like, I have this workshop up in Lyons, and before we know it, we got a roaster landed in Lyons in this beautiful space right in front of 2 trailheads that we ride a bunch. I used to ride to Hall Ranch a bunch. And before we know it, we're, creating flagship blends. We have Stable coming onto board. We have Gateway, our Guad, our Decaf. Like, things started. This was our big milestone.
But I can't imagine that. Okay, so you kind of breezed over the whole thing of like
how it happens.
So you meet some dude in Crested Butte.
And the cool thing, so I had known him for a bit, and this goes back to like when I first started riding for Reeb. Like, he was on those Tuesday night mountain bike rides, and he had just become a good friend throughout that. And so we end up in Crested Butte, and we're sitting around the campfire, and he's like, so you're done with Hotbox? And we're a couple beers in, and I'm like pretty bummed about it, because it's like the only thing that I've really ever kind of created and fostered is like ripped away from me. I always say it's like my baby was ripped from my hands,
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, man, but I think we've got something really cool going on. He's like, well, what is it? And so I start telling him about Traction and kind of where we're at. And I had spent some time up at his house because he had a pump track outside. And I think I really gained 𝙎𝘾𝑼𝑍𝑐's respect because we were over there one night, right? The first night, I think the pump track was done. It was so soft, and he was like, I'll give you a beer if you backflip out of that berm.
I was about to say mini flip.
Dude. And I was like, well, fuck you, man. I brought the beer. Like, I don't need my own beer. But everybody else starts feeding into it. And I was like, all right, like, I'll do a backflip. And I just remember sprinting through the infield of this pump track, and my tires are covered in globs of mud, and just sitting into this flip so hard. And like, dude, I just watched the berm like glance by my face, and somehow landed it. And, like, ever since then, me and Chris were like on a different level of relationship, because I don't think he thought I was actually going to do it.
Right.
And from there, it was just like the Crested Butte thing happened a few years later, and
he had this space available.
Yeah, he's like, when we get home, like, text your boys, like, come look at it. So we walk in there, and it was like, dude, it was perfect. There was like a window that we could like remove the glass out of, put the venting out the side, and it was heated. Like, dude, it was perfect. It was the perfect thing. Like Shawn said, there was 2 trails right there. There's a pump track outside. Chris is the man, so he'd always come down and drink beers with us. Like, it was too good to be true.
Yeah, Chris was so funny. Like, obviously there's stuff that goes wrong with business. I think we glorify the good points, but the roaster wouldn't be working right, or this and that. And like, he'd come down after work. He's a construction guy, and just be drinking beers, watching us just bang our head against the wall. And he was just just
kind of chuckle about it.
He loved it. And it kept us in good spirits. And I kind of miss those days.
Totally.
So
yeah, he'd like walk downstairs with like a 6-pack and just like shoot the shit with us. And like, but if it weren't for that Crested Butte thing, that like, I almost didn't even go on that trip because I was so bummed. Mm-hmm. But like, as our business partner in Espresso Forge and good friend Whitey always says, he's like, take the trip.
Yep. And
like, thankfully that happened, and we got a place to roast coffee.
Was that a quick tangent? Was that your last mountain bike ride? I'm just kidding. So Mike has been riding a lot more BMX, so I like to give him a hard time
Yeah,
about
been
not riding
slacking on the mountain
bikes.
bikes for sure.
But all right,
So, you have this. Sorry, but you're in Lyons, Colorado.
Yep.
You've got so you've established your place. Did you roast when you were at Hotbox?
Yeah, so that was
So you had a wee bit of an idea of what's going on with the roast.
somewhat, but like, yeah, it was one of those things that was like thrown in my lap, and I was personally never that passionate about roasting. So like the roast profiles that I was given at Hotbox, I kind of just played off of them, and I knew enough to get by, but I never like sunk my teeth into it. And a buddy of mine that I rode BMX with growing up, he worked at a coffee shop in Springfield, Missouri. And he worked with this guy that roasted coffee there. And I eventually got to a point where I got to hire him to come work at Hotbox for me. So he came in and kind of just like started running the roasting operations, and he was killer at it. And we'll get back to him here a little bit later in this episode, but he ended up being our second partner after our first partner kind of exited from us. But yeah, so we kind of had a grasp on the roasting thing. Like I knew kind of what we needed to do and what we didn't need to do.
Right.
And I guess that gets in the reason I really got into coffee. I saw climate change affecting the coffee zones, the tropical areas, and coffee will get quite expensive, 2030, 2040. And I want to start roasting my own coffee. So I got obsessed with roasting profiles and this and that. And that was kind of what sprouted traction for me personally, and why I reached out to Mike. And
yeah, pretty much for like personal coffee at that point.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. Like I wanted to drink these very, expensive coffees that, spoke to me and not pay crazy amounts.
Yeah,
but
$200 a pound.
Totally. Yeah. Like their coffee gets nuts. Like,
Right.
some of the nicest coffees.
Give me an average so that we understand what is an average per pound.
So like our average, I would say, for a bag of coffee can come out to $16 to $20 per bag.
Right.
But there's pounds of coffee, just a single pound, that are selling at auction for over $1,000 a pound.
And that's unroasted.
Unroasted. And then you lose 15% when I roast to just water weight. So add 15% to that. And then you have overhead, this and that. So you're talking $2,000 a pound, But so obviously you're not drinking those all the time, but it is nice to like experiment with those. But that's a whole nother tangent. So hit up Mike, this and that, and here we are.
And you've got the space up in Lyons.
Yeah. And the Lyons thing was really cool to me, like the way it kind of like serendipitously worked out. And then I'm like, oh shit, like Oscar Blues started in Lyons. I worked for Oscar Blues for a long time. This is really cool.
Yeah.
And like Oscar Blues like started brewing beer in a barn, and here we are in like an old horse stable that's converted to a wood shop roasting coffee. And I'm like, wow, we couldn't have written a better story.
And that's our first flagship blend was stable, and it was this homage to our whole stable.
Where you were roasting.
Yep.
Yeah, and we haven't told that story because it wasn't super legit, and there's a lot of I don't know, just like this kind of gray area that it feels good to be in a commercial spot now doing it like this, so we can tell that story. And it's just we didn't have the money to do it.
At the time, you were like, "Oh shit, we're roasting in a legit stable right
totally."
now."
And like, dude, it was
cool?
borderline like it was cool to bring people up there, but it was borderline at sometimes embarrassing.
Yeah, it feels weird saying it now. Like that's why I was kind of like stopping. It's like. I don't know. It like feels wrong to say.
Yeah, it feels like inappropriate. But like, we were straight up in like. I mean, it was converted really nicely into a wood shop. Don't get us wrong. It wasn't like freaking open air.
You didn't
stable.
Still have some shitty hay in the corner or anything.
It
like
was
that.
really nicely done. But like, we'd bring people up there, and like, we never posted that stuff online because we were like, well, like this could result in like us getting shut down. You know?
Health and safety or whatever it is.
And we were always like the utmost clean. Like we're very particular about those things.
Oh,
but
absolutely.
Like our can, like all our green coffee was like sealed, this and that.
We're like wiping stuff down every day.
But it's like it was still wood shop, so like every night we had to like cover the roaster, cover the beans.
Chris would come in there and like rip something on this. The table saw.
Oh shit! So he still had tools in there.
Oh
too.
yeah,
oh dude, yeah. So like having this place now that's like, don't have to do any of that. It's just you shut off gas, go home. Whereas that night, like every night, someone's going over the roaster. You're putting like bags over the coffee, and like everything's sealed. And but yeah, it's like funny to look back now, but it still feels like eerie to like talk about, because it's like it's what we had to do. Like you have this situation, and it's like, all right,
we wouldn't even exist right now if it weren't for those moments. Like the rent was so cheap, it was a perfect situation, and like it really fostered like the growth.
It's a super sick story of like, but I think that's where these amazing opportunities come from. Is you've got to have those stories, you've got to have a shared space with like a wood shop or whatnot. But so where did it go? Okay, so what, we're in about 2018, 2019.
This is October, still October 2018. Like we're kind of getting the ball rolling. We're starting to do these sample roasts. We're like, okay, like
is it just you two at this time, or have you still got
our original third partner? Yeah.
And luckily, I was shooting with Joey a bunch.
Joey
Schuessler.
Okay, you need to give him an introduction for sure.
Yeah.
Quick one, because it can go on for hours.
Yeah.
Sure.
So Joey Schuessler, professional filmmaker, mountain biker.
All around badass, really.
Badass. And he's who got my foot in the door with Yeti.
Mm-hmm.
The reason I became a professional mountain biker, I could go on and on and on. But
and he's based out of this same area, Lyons, Colorado.
Yep. So I told him about it, and he's like, hey, I'll come down and shoot a launch video for you guys. So he comes down with these big old lenses, just Joey fashion, just all nonchalant, shoots the dopest video.
Dude, turned it back to us in less than 24
cameras
hours.
Or something?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, on the Reds.
On the Reds. Turned around in 24 hours?
Dude, less than 24 hours. I think we got it back that night. He's like, what do you guys think about this? And we're just like, you're joking, dude. Yeah. You're freaking joking.
But then we were thinking like November 1, like launching, but we still had to like build the website and like all this stuff. And like October 22nd, like Joey drops a video. And it's like... Traction.
He's like, so stoked for my buddies over at Traction. Like
shit.
Yeah. And it's like, do you miss that hype? So like we were like on the phone.
Dude,
like, we have to get this going.
I stayed up for straight up 48 hours, just like finish, because the website was like rounded out, but like product pages weren't done, bios weren't, nothing was done.
Oh, dude, it's those small
like
things.
Payment gateways.
I'm redoing my website right now and just getting those like the bio and like introduction to each gallery.
Yep.
That stuff drives me bloody crazy.
Dude, insane.
So you're forced to do it in 48 hours
Dude,
or what?
Yeah, Joey like is the man, but like made life chaos.
I don't even. Does he know that? Have you ever told him that?
I don't know if I did, but
and as a tangent, like Joey's. He is a pretty big figure in the mountain bike photography world, and
he's worked with Nat Geo, Outside Mag,
so
like
what
the
I'm
biggest
saying
names.
Is, so when he comes to saying, "Yo, I'm so stoked for my boys," he's got a following. He's got people out there that are going to be like, "Oh, click on this link. I want to know more."
Our Instagram followings just went boop, like started going up, and I'm like, all right, if that many people are going to the Instagram, we didn't have like the link for the website posted yet.
Yeah.
And so it was just like around the clock getting it done, like, and then we launched.
But let me ask you this:
October
22nd. But do you think that was the kick in the arse that you needed? Do you think that if you'd been left to your own devices with regards to putting everything together, would it have trailed on for way too long? Would you have lost some?
I think we would have probably still launched November 1st. But it wouldn't have been as an appropriate of a story for what the brand is, because everything was kind of just like, it was kind of, it's like riding the wave, right? Like the wave came in and it was like, fuck yeah, we're jumping on. And that's kind of
now or never.
Yeah, and that's kind of how everything has been. Like I don't feel like we've done anything that we've really forced, right?
Yep.
Like nothing comes to mind. It's like kind of everything we've done has like, oh, that's a good idea. And then naturally, like, it just plays out, whether it's extremely rapid or, like, a long play. Like, everything has happened the way it needed to happen.
And I think it goes back to our first business partner didn't work out financially. He wanted to get paid. Mike and I saw it, I think, more on a real level of, like, hey, like, we need to let this thing flourish before we, pluck it for its buds. And we've let just kind of our heart lead the way in a sense versus like monetarily. I think that's been the biggest thing. And
that's like where, like with that third partner, where it all came to a head was like our hand got forced in launching the business, and like overnight, like we just saw an insane amount of online sales, like more than we had ever done at Hotbox. And he was working at a coffee company too, our third partner, more than they had done in a year, he said, in like a day. What? And we're just like, oh, that's crazy. And he was like, that's when like, hey, I think we can pay ourselves things popped up. And yeah, that's when like it kind of went sideways there, which
Yeah.
was crazy.
Yeah,
you
and
know?
obviously, like, the first month, it died off after that. It's not
Mm-hmm.
like we were just raking it in, but, like, obviously a lot of people from the woodwork, like, want to support your business. And, like, first month, like, especially first week, people are just, like, stoked, buy a bag, this and that. But getting people out of their normal routine to buy a bag from you all the time. But, yeah, so he thought, it's like, hey, I can't work 2 jobs. And Mike and I were like, we were planning on working 2 jobs for like a year or two, like, because, you know, for mountain biking and BMX, all these things, it's like you understand that there's a 3-year internship
Yep.
to get what you want. Like, that is like the biggest kick in the face I got.
Every bit of 3 years
Yeah.
or your 10,000 hours.
Yeah. So
Absolutely.
Mike and I, like,
Well, and I think-
related on that level so clearly. And it
Yep.
was just like, hey, we have 2 to 3 years of just, like, not getting paid,
Getting our
putting the
teeth
time
kicked
in.
you
And, like,
know?
and if people, you know, are vibing it at 3 years, we're going to make it. And it stayed true, you know?
Well,
like,
and I think it's worth saying too, like I even forgot up until this point, like I had accepted a new job. It was like October 15th, you know, like a
Yep.
full-time job.
oh, at Canarchy, yeah.
Yeah. And so when that third partner was like, I don't think I can work more than 40 hours a week, I was like, bro, what?
Totally.
Like, I'm literally like, I just signed up for like 60 hours a week plus traction. So
Right.
like, you can do this. And
Yep.
yeah, it just, we ended up not seeing eye to eye. And yeah, we decided to go separate ways.
Yeah, so we lost the third partner or what have you.
That was probably, what, a week and a half after
Dude, a
launching?
weekend
I don't
after
even think we
launch.
made it to November 1.
There's a long
Oh,
story to
shit.
that.
It was pretty
But-
traumatic.
All right.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, we don't need to get into all the details.
No,
I'm
for sure.
he's the man, and it's just
Yeah,
different
Big
livelihoods.
respect. I still see all the things he's doing, and I'm beyond stoked for the dude. Like,
well, that's the way it's got to be.
yeah,
It
it's
should be
it's
that
sick,
way.
dude.
Yeah.
Like, it's sick to see him still following his dreams and like kicking ass. Like, that makes me happy to see. You know.
Right.
So yeah,
But everybody goes, yeah, they're on the ways or whatnot, and so
Hold
all
on,
right.
cut. We somehow blamed it on Mike because he's a totalitarian.
Oh no.
And but yeah, I was a good
Well,
guy, so I love that.
And so, like, through the whole process of him leaving, going back to the guy I was talking about at Hotbox that I had hired from a different coffee company,
Mm-hmm.
I hit him up. He's still working for Hotbox for these new guys that bought the company. I was like, hey, dude, we have this really cool opportunity. I know you're not seeing eye to eye with those guys. Like, if you go get a job somewhere else, like, we'd love to bring you in. And so, again, it kind of just, like, worked out the way it was supposed to, I think. And he went and got a job at a dispensary to pay the bills and was helping us, like, figure out how to roast coffee. And got us set up with, like, our importer that we use primarily now. Like, it was really cool. Like, I knew Brian over at Anthems who we use, but this new partner was like, hey, cool, like, I'll start ordering coffee.
Yeah.
And everything just seemed to go from this, like, very almost frustrating place, because we were like, well, we just lost a partner, like, can we do this just the two of us? Like, no way. And
I feel like that was milestone number 1.
yeah.
of,
Well,
like-
that's what I was going to ask. So, like, I feel like the way the traction came about is such a huge conglomerate of, I don't want to say coincidences, but the way that you two came back and you bumped into each other again at a Reap Jam, and then you got your Slayer, so you were all about bragging on that to everybody.
Well,
and
duh.
obviously. I do know what Slayer is, obviously. And
How does it feel not having it?
Oh, I'm kind of bummed.
Okay, keep
Sean
going.
Sean sold the Slayer not so long ago, and let me tell you, it's a different world. But then, so we're in the barn up there in Lyons, and then, so what are some more of these milestones? Like, let's hit the, like, real highlights, the big moments that you're like, holy shit, what
Obviously,
are we doing?
we've taken a lot of time from when we met to obviously getting up into the gults and roasting. So there's so much, and like we obviously breezed over. So we get in there roasting. Partner 1 leaves, partner 2 comes in. I would say April 2019, we do our big first collab with Yeti.
Yep.
And
Yeti Cycles, by the way.
Yeti
Yeah,
Cycles.
Yeti Cycles, not the cooler.
Yeah, and yeah, it goes wild. Like, people are like, you need to sell this, you need to bring it to the Gathering, and it's a hit. So that was
Right,
just cool.
the Gathering is a Yeti deal where it's like, what is it, once a year, and they bring, as long as you own a Yeti, right, you get to
Yeah,
pay
go
and
party.
go.
Yeah.
or-
So like 400 or 500 people come up. This year it's in Steamboat, in July.
Right.
And just like the rides are picked out, coffee's ready for you. You get to ride with the owners.
And just so everybody knows, the collaboration was a 12-ounce bag of beans.
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly.
So
So that was cool. It was just like, a big brand like that trusted us with their image, and it killed it, and it just makes it feel real. We're like 6 months in.
just unbelievable. Like, we're like, holy crap, like this company that's so well established, so well respected, gave us the love.
Oh my God! Yeah,
dude,
are you kidding me?
They just straight up sent logo files and were like, "Do whatever you want."
Yep.
And we're like, "Oh, okay."
Totally.
Such
But then we're
insane.
like a week later, we're shipping coffee to Indonesia, and we're looking like on Google Maps, and it's like this little hut, and you're like, this coffee, and we're putting it in this box, and it's like, there is no way it's getting there. And
Month goes by, dude posts on Instagram. We're just like, and it was all over the world like that.
Yep.
And that would like really cemented us into not being like a local coffee roaster.
Right.
That was never like our thing. We were never like, oh, we're gonna be international, sick.
But that was like the opposite, right? Like most people start with a cafe and then build to wholesale, build to online. Whereas like we were so broke, we started online. We had this, online presence because of who we are through biking.
Yep.
And that was so cool. So we went socially kind of out wide. And now as we grow, we're actually digging our heels locally.
Yep.
And we'll start a cafe. So we've done it backwards from everyone.
And
it's kind of funny.
It's another one of those things where it's like the wave was coming in and we just hopped on and like,
Yep.
we're so fortunate because I talk to a lot of people in coffee and they're like, you guys do how much online sales? I'm like, well, it's like 75% of our business.
Yep.
Right.
Which is unheard of. Like, it's unheard of.
And the other 25% being wholesale.
locally.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think a lot of that like spawned off of that Yeti collaboration.
Yep.
Like, I don't think we really knew who or what we were up until that point. And we're like, oh, we can be an e-commerce company. That can be very fruitful.
Yep.
Really cool.
And I mean, like, okay, so you get 6 months in, so you said about April, right?
Yep.
April 19, you do the collab with Yeti. And just as a side note, like Yeti is Cycles is such a gnarly, huge company with regards to the legitimacy of them being a cycle brand that I remember in mid 90s being in England, going down to my local bike shop, bike scene, and just being all like, oh, they have a Yeti.
Totally.
Missy
That's so
Jovi
sick.
rides for them.
Miles
Rockwell. Like, just the list is
Yeah.
just insane. And then the vibe they had. So
Yep.
for you guys to have that partnership, and obviously Sean, you ride for Yeti,
Yep.
and especially at that time. But okay, so April of 19, you've got the collab with Yeti, like high fives all around.
Yep.
And then where
So-
does it go from there?
It
Well,
goes
I
from-
think,
yeah.
well, after that, it's like we knocked that out of the park. We're stoked. We ship all this coffee out. And then EWS spun back up.
Yep. So
And
then,
so Sean's leaving.
yep.
And it's like me and the new partner.
EWS Enduro World Series, Enduro mountain biking, yeah.
Yep.
So-
So I'm gone from, May-ish to October, and I'm back in, and it's like 2 weeks of just like working hard, and then back out, and then like training in the morning, going to espresso or to traction in the afternoons. But yeah, and then it's just like I'm out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was crazy. And then there was a little window in between that. And it was June 27th, our birthdays, where we were like, we should do like Traction Day. And that
traction
was,
spawned in June. That was like when the original idea, 2018 June is like.
So
when the
we're
idea
1
came.
year on.
yeah, one
on.
year on from like concept.
Right.
And we're like, let's do Traction Day. And our first retailer ever, fittingly enough, is in Lyons. Redstone Cyclery. If you ever pass through Lyons, you got to go there. Dave is the absolute dude.
The man.
Like, the coolest dude. And he, like, no questions asked. He was just like, yeah, give me $200 worth of coffee. I don't care what it is. Just give me coffee. And, like, we still to this day, like, I want to do something super dope for him. Because, like,
But still retailing our
yeah,
coffee.
still retail.
It's-
He's
yeah.
our best on-premise retailer, which is crazy.
And you're saying that he asked for $200 worth of coffee selling his shop.
Yep, to
Gotcha.
retail.
Yeah.
So
Doesn't care what it is. He's like, just bring me $200 of beans. I trust you.
so we're like, okay, let's do Traction Day at Redstone. We'll set up Sean Slayer. We'll pull shots for anybody who's walking by. We'll post on Facebook that we're going to do a group ride. So I don't know what 30 people showed up.
Probably more than that. It was packed.
crazy.
We had Ezekiel just pulling shots. He had never pulled a shot of espresso, and like we got him pulling these beautiful shots. And we're like, we got to go on this ride. We had all these people, and luckily this kid came and we just left him with like
He was like our intern for a bit.
$10,000 machine, like don't mess us up, and came back and like people were stoked.
We had cooler full of beer. Who was it? New Image gave us a bunch of beer.
Yep.
So they're a brewery down in Arvada that's like we've done a few projects with. They were actually my first ever beer collaboration, which is crazy.
I didn't know that.
But yeah, so they like give us all this beer, and it just was an all-out party. And I think that night I remember that we were like sitting there having a beer, and we're like, dude, this could be something.
Yeah.
Like obviously we were stoked and we loved what Traction was turning into, but like seeing that many people come out and like want to hang out and just like drink coffee and beer and like kind of just talk shit. Like the amount of people that hung around after the ride was absurd. And the ride wasn't anything special. We just went and rode Hall Ranch and just like sessioned some features and just like pissed off for a little bit, and like it was fun.
Yeah. But that's what riding bikes is.
That's what it's all about.
It is.
Or whatever.
But I guess it goes back to like fake it till you make it, right?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, we didn't have that much money. We weren't funded. We didn't take out a loan, but like we started this thing, started doing it, and people identified with it. They believed in it before almost we did.
Yeah.
And like that ride and the Yeti thing, it like kind of solidified for us. Like this is like a real thing. Whereas back then it was like, let's just, we had this sense of urgency, but it didn't feel real yet. It was like, we need to do this thing. And for me, it was like this stepping stone away from racing. Like I didn't know if I would have a career-ending injury or get burned out or whatever. It's like, it takes one broken back or head injury and like you're out.
It's
and, like,
over.
I didn't want to be an electrician. I was an electrician my whole life, and like as much as I liked it, I wasn't passionate about it. But I stumbled upon coffee, and I was like, I cared about extraction rates. I cared about the Maillard reaction and roasting. I cared about all these weird things, and it spoke to me. So for me, it's like, this is what we need to do. And luckily I found someone like Mike, and now here we are with people identifying with this baby we've made, this
is
brand.
only a year in.
Yeah.
And we're like, I just remember that, like us talking that night and just being like, how crazy is it that like people think what we're doing is cool?
Yeah.
Like that's absurd.
But
Right.
like at the time
You know?
we're in a barn
Yeah.
with cats.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, Chris had
We
barn
can
cats up. Yeah.
announce that now.
Yeah.
We can talk about
He
that.
had barn cats up there because it's like they were kind of in the middle of nowhere, and so to keep the mice away, and like I guess
It was kind of sick.
we kind of
actually.
breezed over the fact that like we didn't even realize when we decided on the spot in Lions, like when we buy coffee, like we buy 15 to 1,800 pounds at a time, which comes on a pallet. It's 10 bags of coffee.
So semi rolls up.
Yeah, a semi can't get up to where we were roasting. Like it wasn't like possible, especially when the winter rolls around. And we're in the winter when we first launched. So we're like, what are we going to do, man? So, and this is like probably, it was a little before this event we're talking about right now, when we first got like rolling on getting pallets regularly. And my dad owned a vacuum store here in Longmont.
On Main Street.
And we were like, I text my dad, I'm like, hey, can we like have pallets of coffee delivered to your store? I don't care. I'm like, sick, dude. Thanks.
Yeah.
So the semi-truck driver is like parks in the middle of Main Street and just drops the coffee there in the middle of Main Street.
Yeah. So it's like, 4-lane road, but it's like
It's a highway. Yeah, Main Street's a highway. Like let's just
Yep.
keep that in mind. It's 287. It's a freaking highway.
So, but he can't pull into the little parking lot, but that's like overseen by us. So yeah, we have this pallet of coffee, $1,500 to $1,800 or 1,800 pounds, and we're trying to break it into my little Mazda and his little Hyundai, just like until like they
Our
were
cars
scraping.
are just sacked out.
Oh,
dude.
yeah, for sure.
And it's just so funny.
So
we
we'd
did
have
that
to
for a long
unload
time.
almost 2,000 pounds of coffee,
Yeah.
reload it back into our cars, drive it up to Lions, unload it from there, carry it through the barn
Yeah.
or the wood shop, and like set it all down. And like, dude, yeah, we did that for almost 2 years.
And it was like a 3-4 hour ordeal because they would never show up on time because it's like
Right.
they were just doing different
you just
deliveries.
yeah.
So it was like like a 4 to 6 hour ordeal just to get the coffee up there. And then luckily, you knew Soulframe.
Yeah.
And we started coming to Longmont,
Yep.
a different part of Longmont, to pick up those pallets.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. My
let's-
dad closed his store. And so we started getting the coffee delivered to the building we're in now. We'll revisit that here in a second
Yep.
when we get to the point of moving into this building and
Yep.
why that happened.
Well,
All right.
let's just take this pause for a second. I got to piss so fucking bad. Are we allowed to pause
Yeah,
these things?
for sure.
Sick. Like I'm
I'm just gonna keep it-
squirming. Okay, so the last thing we were talking about before the impending urination on myself, where I really was like, to give you guys this, about to take one for the team. I was like, I will piss on this chair. I will urinate all over myself because I am so interested in this. But
You wouldn't smell any worse.
Well, I know. I mean, I'm a broadcast artist. Of course, I'm going to smell like ass the whole time. But
if anyone's wondering, James' heart broke because some creative told him 10 years ago that there's no space for art when you're playing around with your heart.
That's it. That's why I can't ever be in love. Right?
So if you're...
Let's not go down this avenue because, I'll go off on a tangent for hours about how I only work best when I'm heartbroken. And I've got to be depressed for me to work best.
I mean, that kind of relates back to what we were talking about, how this all started. Like,
yeah.
I mean, this literally got to where it is because of the whole like Hotbox exit thing. Like, I don't think for myself that I would have been in the fucking pain locker as much as I was to like work my face off.
Oh, and you were just so pissed off,
Dude.
so upset. You were like, "What?"
Like in hindsight, like at the time, it wasn't really this way. But in hindsight, I'm like, there was like a vendetta there. I was like, watch this. Like, you don't want me around. Like, watch this.
It's a real thing. And then and Shawn and I joke about it a lot, but I believe there is a lot of truth to it. And again, we're going off on a tangent, but for me, it really is like, dude, I just want to be mad at somebody. Just because I use that and I'm like, all right, I'm mad at you. It's a motivator to me hustling on whatever project or whatever like career I'm working on.
100%.
But let's get back to you guys with regards to
2019.
2019, and we're in Traction Day.
Yeah, Traction Day. So Traction Day went off without a hitch. It was so sick, and we're our new partners there with us. We're all in disbelief that like, wow, we in a year's time we've built something that people resonate with. Like, we're not cool. Why do people think what we're doing is cool? This is sick. Yep.
Would you say that this was imposter syndrome?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
To its fullest, I think. And so we're go from June and like, we're kind of just like getting our wits about us, kind of like saying like, okay, we're like doing something now. And so, we coming off Traction Day, coming off that collaboration, trying to figure out what comes next. And over the next couple months, like, we start getting some new wholesale clients and things are really going good and numbers are going up. And then all of a sudden I start getting phone calls from these wholesale clients. Hey, our coffee didn't get delivered today. Hey, the training that you guys scheduled with us didn't happen today. And I'm like, okay, what the fuck is going on? Call Shawn. Shawn's in the middle of a breakup.
A 10-year breakup. And then we have a partner that's, we're just have this
not
friction.
Executing.
And like my life's on, shambles. And so like go home, have this like drama at home. And then I'm on these 3-way calls with Mike and our partner. And like, this coffee's not delivered. And like supposedly like, packages at the post office are like left in the corner and like
stuff's just not getting mailed. Like just a lot of like really rough stuff starts happening.
Yeah. Balls getting dropped.
Yeah. And it starts to feel like we're almost like anchored down or like carrying around like a ball and chain at this point. We're just like, dude, this is not conducive to business. And we're trying to figure out what's next, right?
I mean, how are the vibes at that time? Are you all it was, three of you at each other's throats?
I think it was more like me and Shawn, like we, again, going back to like the bike riding thing, like we can see eye to eye and like we can tell each other to get fucked and then we can like pick up the pieces and get it together.
Right.
There's really never been too much like passive aggressive energy between us.
Right.
But with the third, it started to become very passive aggressive. I remember like our 1-year anniversary, we were trying to film this video where we were dropping these new coffees and it just like, he just wasn't interested in it. And we're like, dude,
Kenyas,
and we're like, dude, this like needs like, this is serious. This company's not going to grow unless we make it grow. And I think that was like a big turning point for us. That was mid-October when we tried to film those videos of 2019. And a couple months later, we get a phone call from him, the third partner, saying, yeah, I'm not interested in doing this anymore. I'm moving back home. And we're like, fully caught off guard by that, but also kind of relieved. And one of the cool things when we set up the whole agreement with Traction was if you don't work for 2 years, you don't get equity in the company.
Yeah, there's a big vesting period.
Like a cliff period.
You guys thought ahead on that one. Do you think where did that come from? Was that from your experience? Was that
I think just kind of all of us sitting around and like You know, I didn't have any skin in the game. Like we were fortunate enough for Shawn to like bust his fucking ass and get to the point where we had funding, right? Like if it weren't for Shawn selling bikes and like scrounging cash up, Traction wouldn't have existed.
No kidding.
Yeah. So like I was like, when we were talking about it, it's like, well, I don't feel like I should get anything if I leave before 2 years. And our third partner in the beginning kind of felt the same way. So that just like has always been a thing for us.
But that was like the hard thing with our first partner. Like Mike and I were like, hey man, we get it, and like we'll pay you first. You have no skin in the game, but like we'll pay you. How long can you work 2 jobs? You know, and we'll figure that out. And it always came back to like, well, if you know we said we need to make X amount and to make ends meet, what if I get paid $2 per pound over that? And it was always like this just very complicated stuff. Whereas Mike and I think come back to like, the business comes first, and like that's how it's been, and I think that's how it needs to be. And like I think it made it so simple. It's like, how do we make Traction succeed? That's what we need to do. Whereas like the other partners, they just
sacrifice.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's new partner, second partner. January rolls around, and we get that phone call. I think it was early January, and we have no freaking clue what is looming ahead in 2020, and so. Me and Shawn are kind of freaking out. Like, what are we going to do? Like, the third is leaving. We don't know how to roast to the level that we were roasting. We're roasting on a pretty high level at this point. Great coffees.
Oh, homeboy was roasting.
He was doing all the roasting.
Oh, shit, yeah.
And so Shawn sat down with him for literally an afternoon and got a crash course, and that was it.
Yeah. So I bought every book I could. Just like I already knew about roasting. It's something I'm passionate about, but literally I have 10 roasting books at my house, and just like immediately just went through a crash course of literally going to bed thinking about how to control my ROR and like how long the Maillard reaction should be.
Let's not get too geeky.
Yeah, totally. But like, dude was nuts. It was just like thrown in the deep end real quick.
Sunk his teeth in. Same thing I was talking about earlier. Like I didn't know what I was doing at Hotbox, but I refined it because I was forced to. Same thing for him. It was like. I was like, dude, I'm too busy with my real job and everything else I have going on with Traction to roast. Like, can you do that? And he's just like, sure, stepped up and fucking swung, dude. Swung for the fences and like immediate home run. And we got past that. I mean, we're probably talking, this was right before COVID when you got to the point where you were comfortable roasting.
Yeah, totally.
And it was like, it felt like we could take a deep breath for the first time in the history of Traction. Like, things were rolling good. We knew that if Shawn said he was going to do something, it was going to get done. If I said I was going to do something, it was going to get done. We didn't have to micromanage each other. Things started getting very fluid.
We had more work than ever, and it was easier than ever.
Which was end of 19, beginning of 2020.
Yep. Yeah. Which was a weird feeling, right? We're like, okay, we're down a person, but it feels easier. We're doing exponential more volume. And as that's going on, COVID hits.
Yeah, boom. COVID.
Yeah.
And we're kind of sitting there like, okay, are we going to have to shut down? Yeah. Are our sales going to crash? We have no idea.
Well, wholesale after wholesale account just starts dropping.
Yeah.
Like our biggest account just drops off the edge, and it was a university account.
What?
And
dude, they cranked coffee.
Dude, I missed that one.
Like that was multiples of thousands of dollars a month right there. Boom, gone.
Right.
And we're kind of sitting here like, dude, fuck. It's over. Like the dream is done. And we didn't know if like the government was going to force us to shut down. We just didn't know.
Well, the entire country, or the entire world, forget the country. I just remember when that came about was Sedona Fest. I was having dinner with Darren Bakelor, a mountain biker or what have you, and he's a Canadian, and he's constantly tracking his phone, and he keeps talking about this coronavirus, and oh man, it's coming. Oh, now they've got cases in Canada, and now they've got blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, for me, being a dumbass, I was just like, all right, whatever. And then get back to normal life. And it's just like, holy shit, the world is shutting down. Yeah. We don't know, a bike shop's open, a bike shop's closed, a coffee shop's open, and they're closed. What are we allowed to do? So yeah, I'm sure you two
we're like, what regulations are going to be put in? We're just freaking out. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, we have like our website app on our phone, and this like online sales go from they overnight tripled.
Yep.
And we're like, okay,
But it's interesting. So it's like all these small transactions. So it feels like you're doing a lot, and we were doing a lot, but it's like our wholesale died.
Yeah.
No one was open. So
like dollar amount tripled.
Yeah, but like I would say overall business like equaled out. But
like, it was that crazy thing of like, holy crap, like online sales just shot through the roof. And then they kept going up. Yeah. And then they kept going up.
Yep.
And to this day, like I was so scared COVID's coming to an end. Regulations were coming to an end. There goes our online sales. Nope. Like they keep going up.
It's the only thing keeping our lights on, you know, like the people that identify with us, and like it's amazing because it's like those are the people we want to collaborate with, and the people that we see eye to eye, from like the teachers to the bikers to the random tech geeks, and they just like hit us up on Instagram. I don't know, it just feels so personal.
Yeah.
And I love every bit of it.
Yeah, I feel so much more grateful and connected to. They're not even customers. They're Traction family members.
Yes, family.
None of these people are customers. They are all part of the family. I feel so connected to them because they went out of their way to support us in one of the scariest times in modern history, right? Like that's crazy that we went through that together, and people continue to be like, yeah, I'm going to support Traction, and I'm going to make sure that they get to keep their lights on.
Yep.
And I feel very like, I don't know. It means a lot to me that happened, totally. Because a lot of people didn't fare as well.
No, for sure. So,
that was a really cool moment for the brand. It was another one of those like imposter syndrome type moments where it was like, wait, people like actually care about us at that level. Like they're not just forgetting about us when this is going on. This is insane.
Right.
Yep. And
so we're like what, April, May, June of 20 at that time, right?
Yeah.
And then obviously, fortunately, your sales are going up.
Well, I would say, around May is when Shawn was supposed to get ready to start leaving for
that's right.
The Enduro World Racing Series.
Yeah.
And we're kind of freaking out because at this point, it would have just been me, And I'm like, dude, I don't know if I can do all this by myself.
Yep.
And then he gets the call, yo, this isn't happening.
Yeah, we couldn't.
And we kind of looked at each other and we're like, I don't know if we're ever going to have this opportunity again. Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go as hard as we can go.
Let's pour as much gas on the fire as we can.
Yeah.
And we really did. Like, that's when collaborations started popping up. Like, we did a collaboration with Demolition BMX. That was like, the Ride or Die collaboration was spawned out of that. Like, all this, like, from the beginning of Traction, collaboration has been a big focus of ours. Like, I've always said, let's build community through collaboration, regardless of what industry it is. Like, let's work with cool people. If they're in the same industry as us, who cares? Mm-hmm. Let's build community through that. So we got to really work on that and foster that in that time. And at the same time, we were kind of talking about this idea. I don't even know how it came up.
Coffee and
donuts.
Yeah.
Like I had always had an idea of doing a video where like we made coffee and then went and did donuts in a really cool car.
Sick.
Yeah. I mean, who doesn't want to do that, right? Like amazing. Just a play on words, like kind of funny, different. And we started like, well, we can actually do this. Like, we can get a hold of a car, which we're extremely fortunate for. We have.
Well, back up. How'd you get hold of that?
Yeah,
car? Okay. Let's actually talk a little bit more about this. So this is your 2-year anniversary.
So we needed a special occasion, right?
Yeah.
And 2 year.
Yep.
So year one was really cool. We, didn't have much to do we didn't have much funding. We didn't have much. And so year two comes around. We have the time. We have a little bit more money. So we're like, all right, Mike had been talking about this coffee and donuts thing. This really cool idea. We were obsessive about it. And like we had, just between the both of us, such good opportunities to make this happen. Yep. He had, a lock to a really nice Ferrari, and I had.
You just don't graze over that much.
Yeah, but like I don't know if I want to blow a spot out like that.
Yeah,
like it's one of those things. Like if you know.
Yeah, totally.
Like I don't know.
So Mike gets.
You know what I mean?
Hold on. So Mike gets this, F12, this insane Ferrari, and then we're like, all right, we got to film it. We got to get it done right. We can't just film this on iPhones, right? So. Who do I hit up? I hit up Joey, and I'm like, Joey, I need your red cameras. I need your $100,000 worth of cameras. And he's like, well, I'm out of town that week. Just come pick them up, figure it out. So like I go up there and I like pick up all this camera gear. I'm like, oh my god, like I don't even want to touch
camera
it.
Gear that's worth more than our entire company.
I was about to say, let's just touch on this real quick.
Camera gear that's like half as much as the car almost.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I was about to say, all right, so you've already got a Ferrari that you're talking about that somebody is graciously enough allowing you yahoos to drive
Dude,
it.
insane.
But on top of that, then as a photographer, forget about red cameras and stuff. My Canon R5s and whatnot, I'm just like, I'm not super stoked on other people touching them.
Yeah.
He's just like, yeah, here's the keys to my barn. Go grab the reds.
Go grab the
fun.
reds. So I pick them up and I hit up Craig Grant, 𝙎𝘾𝘼𝙍𝙈𝘼𝙇.
Oh yeah, sick videographers. Yeah,
they kill it. Like,
Dude,
and it's just it's just good people, right? Like you help them out, they help you out, and they trust you, and it's all about respect, right? And I don't know, it gives me
worked
goosebumps
out.
thinking about right now, like how everything came together and like how fortunate I am for this guy, for Mike, for Craig, for Wiley, and all of it to come together. And it's now one of our it is our best-selling coffee is Coffee and Donuts.
Well, I was going to ask that, but before that, like, okay, so you guys are both sat around drinking coffee or what have you, talking about, all right, coffee and donuts. Fortunately, we get to have a set of reds. We get to sick videographers on top of that. And we have a Ferrari. Yep. And then what was it? It was just like, oh, let's just go piss around in it and film it?
Well, like we had like a rough idea of what we wanted it to be, but we didn't like storyboard it. And we also like didn't know until like the day before that we were going to have all the shit.
Yeah.
Like,
I love
it
that,
was like
though.
literally like I was waiting for like the thumbs up text message to like go pick up the car. Same thing with you for like, is Wiley going to be able to come? Like,
yeah.
And like last minute, it all came together. Like, I'll never forget like walking out of that or driving out of the garage in that Ferrari and being like, dude, no way this is real. And like I had to go get like a sea sucker because we put bikes on the roof, and like, so we're like,
we need to show a video.
Yeah, this needs to come up.
Yeah. We'll link it. If you're listening to this, we'll link it in the description, and if you're watching, we'll just put it in here just so you can see it. We'll put the cool parts. We'll put the link in the description if you want to watch the whole thing. But yeah, we're like, cool. Like, this is all coming together.
Cool. We have a Ferrari. Yeah. We have sea suckers.
So the two biggest things, obviously, coffee. We love coffee. So we pour espresso, drink our coffee, and then donuts are cool, but donuts in a Ferrari are way cooler. So that was the premise.
Well, and they're even better for you because those those donuts that we did were vegan.
Damn right.
And gluten-free.
Dude, better for the world. Better for the environment, right?
So yeah, we like tear out that morning. I mean, we started at like 5 a.m. Like, I'll never forget, I'm living in this apartment complex, and I have the Ferrari in my garage, and like, this is a V12 Ferrari. Like, this thing is not quiet. I fire this thing at 4:30 in the morning, dude, and I can just hear the dude who lives above me jumping up and down on the floor, pissed.
No,
everything's vibrating, dude.
Yeah, dude, I'm thinking
right above it.
Yeah. So I like pull out of the garage, I let it warm up, go pick Sean up, and we meet the boys. Did they meet us at your house? I can't remember.
We came back to shoot the rest of the stuff. But yeah, we did the early morning.
We met them out, and like thankfully, not thankfully, I guess, the light was pretty great all day because that was when like a bunch of the fires were ripping.
Yeah.
So it was like nice, like dissolved light. It was so perfect all day. And we just shot all freaking day, like ripping up and down these roads, like just having so much fun. And like, there was a couple times where I'm like ripping in the car around the corners, and like the back end started to walk out on me. And like, I've driven this particular Ferrari like several hundred miles, and I'm like, I'm pretty comfortable in this car, and I don't know why this is happening. So I peek underneath, and the tires are completely bald. And the guy that we borrowed it from, like when I told him about the idea, he's like, oh, that's a really good idea. I don't think I've ever turned the tires over in that car. So I'm convinced that he like got in it before we took it and just like roasted the tires off because he knew it was going to need tires anyways, which it's his car. I'm stoked,
absolutely.
like whatever. But yeah, I'm like, oh, like I don't know how many donut clips we're going to have in this thing.
But yeah, before they start cording.
Yeah. So we go to Sean's house, we film the coffee stuff. Takes longer than we expect. Like, we did this all in less than like 12, 13 hours. Like, we were hustling on this day.
So we do all the coffee clips in my house on the Slayer. It was so funny. Like, we're dumping espresso right on the red, and Craig's like, it's fine. This waterproof.
Like, right on the lens.
And I was like, dude, that's like a $70,000 setup or whatever. And like, Craig's just pouring shots of espresso straight on the lens.
What?
Yeah, dude. I'll have to show you that.
Was that Joey's glass or was it Craig's glass?
I think it was Craig's glass.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
But still, like, it's still pouring over.
Yeah.
So we get done with that, and then we have this clip where Blair, he had this old beater truck.
Blair Reed.
And we pretend I throw the key. We walk out of the house. I throw the keys to Mike, and it looks like we hop in the beater truck, and then we rip out in the Ferrari, and it's like just this like deceiving clip. The first clip we do, we roll around the block, but obviously, like he said, it's an F12, 700 horsepower.
Yeah.
You start it up. It sounds like you're going 100 miles an hour. And we never did over 25 miles an hour in the neighborhood, but it sounds like you're going 100 miles an hour. So we do one lap, and then the Ronin, the stabilizer on the camera was wrong. So Craig and Wiley, like, you have to do it again. And, like, first clip of my neighbor comes out. We're doing it in my neighborhood, right? Dude. And the neighbor's like, hey, there's kids in this neighborhood. Cool it. And we're like, what? We didn't even go. He's like, nice car though, and he's like slams the door, and we're like, whoa, like we pissed the neighborhood off, But then we didn't realize we had to do 12 more takes because every time it was messed up. So we have to like go back in the house, come back out. I felt
so bad, dude.
Start the car up and like rip out, and just like my neighbors, they won't even wave at me anymore, like across the street, and I'm just like, oh my god.
I mean, it did look pretty ignorant. We're like doing that in a $650,000 car with 2 bicycles on the back. Like, it's pretty ignorant, right? But
I don't know. You said ignorant, I said beautiful.
But we're the most broke dudes on the neighborhood.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful in that way.
I can barely, like, the company at the time could barely afford to put gas in. I couldn't afford it,
Right.
Like, so then we go from there over to where we're doing the donuts. And they're like, have all these like really cool cinematic ideas. And I'm like, dude, I don't know how many donut clips we have. Like, these tires are shot. And so we get to the point of like, all right, the cameras are set up, like drift around the building, do this. And I'm like, okay. And then I start thinking, I'm like, dude, we have mountain bikes on top of this like almost $700,000 car. Like, what happens when we like catch an edge or something and they just pop off and like, dude, that's going through my head.
And then we see one clip and like the tires are sparking. And I'm just like, oh my God, like there's not enough rubber. So like
you're down to the wire.
Cords, dude.
Oh shit.
And I'm like so scared that like they're like one more, and I'm like, dude, this is gonna be the one where the tire explodes, it rips the fender off the car. We can't afford that. So we do the one more. Everybody's like, dude, on cloud 9 because these clips are sick, And like obviously we're doing it in a Ferrari, which is like everybody's dream. Like, we were freaking geeked out, and we're like, cool, we're done. And we look down at the ground, and there's just shredded rubber all over the place. And my initial thought was like, well, I don't want to leave this here. So I start picking it up, and I'm like, oh, we're like doing these boxes when we release, because we put out a coffee, a mug, and a T-shirt alongside of this video. I was like, we're putting these like boxes out. Let's put a piece of the tire in every box.
Get the fuck out.
Yeah. And it had like it was like the Pirelli 215. So it had like the
tire spec
on it,
and the car it came from.
You got the piece of the rubber from because dude, there's rubber scattered everywhere. So we picked it all up. So when you bought the box set, you actually got the Pirelli tire from the Ferrari.
I don't even think I have a piece of the rubber, which is crazy, But yeah, so yeah, again, it's one of those things that just like worked out. Like, it was just like, oh, this could work. Yeah. So yeah.
So that was Coffee and Donuts. That was the 2-year anniversary.
Dude,
in the middle of COVID.
In the middle of COVID. And again, like, that wouldn't have happened if COVID didn't happen. Like, if Shawn wasn't able to stick around that whole season, like, Coffee and Donuts wouldn't have existed. So.
And when your neighbor came out and they were super pissed off, were they wearing a mask?
No. Shout out to a neighbor who is the most COVID protected person. I'm gonna have to give him a hard time about that.
I'm telling you, man. Yeah.
I never thought about that. Yeah. That's a good point.
Yeah. Emotions were high.
Yeah, I'm sure.
All right. So
yeah, that
Coffee and Donuts won. It went off of the hitch. That was amazing. And
I mean, that's still a coffee that you guys are.
It's one of my favorites.
I mean, that was like a coffee where we're like, okay, we'll have this out until we sell out of the T-shirts and the mugs, then we'll just pull it. And then all of a sudden, that becomes our number 1 selling coffee.
For sure.
And we're like, oh, sick. That's really cool. So we just we kept it around. And like, now we want to turn Coffee and Donuts into like a franchise, where we can do a couple more videos. Like, I have another one that is kind of in my brain, that like Coffee and Contraband, like making it look like we're doing a drug deal and like handing coffee off like in a cool car. Like, yeah, I don't know. There's so many things we can do off of that. That's really fun. And like, yeah, thankfully we have a lot of friends that are cool enough to like help us out with those things, because we certainly can't afford it. Because like up until this point, we are still completely self-funded.
Right.
Which I think is worth noting. You know, it's like we up until the point of doing Coffee and Donuts, we had never paid anybody for anything.
Like branding,
anything,
yeah.
Outside of buying like raw goods,
And then on the Coffee and Donuts, was that what were you paying for?
We literally just paid for Wiley. Craig did it as a homie hookup.
Yep. And
Joey
then Keith
did
White, we paid him for audio.
Yep.
Which set that video to a whole nother level.
Oh, dude, a good audio dude is out of control.
And like, yeah, that was the first thing we ever paid for.
Yep.
You know, and we didn't like. I still don't know how it happened. Like, we didn't have to pay for tires, like nothing. I offered, like, I don't know. Like, it's so sick that it worked out the way that it did.
At the end of the day, it's like, you're a good human, it comes back. It's like,
You're
I
putting
do
out
believe
good
in karma.
vibes.
Yeah,
Well,
totally.
We
It's like,
put the work in and got
on
the
the front
respect to do that. And, like, that's a really cool thing.
so you're not going to get a Ferrari without putting that front end time in.
Right.
I'm not going to get some reds without that front end time, right? So it's like, it all comes back to being a good human.
Yep.
That's all that matters. So,
Well, and like,
all right.
So then going from the Ferrari Coffee and Donuts video, like the rest
Are you
of
guys still roasting up in
still in
Lions
Lions at this point.
Okay.
You know, we're living the dream. We're stoked. This video comes out. People are pumped. I get an email in my inbox from Ferrari of Denver. And I'm like, huh, that's weird. They follow us on Instagram. Hey, guys, we have this toy drive going on. Second week of December. We'd love if you joined us. So we go down there. We do a custom bag of coffee and donuts for Ferrari of Denver. We make friends with them. And me and Sean were fortunate enough to be a part of, like, we went and bought several $100s worth of toys, loaded this Ferrari up. It's cold as balls. It was so cold, that, like, the doors were frozen on the car. You know,
we drive snow down on the ground was slick.
And like, yeah, keep in mind that these cars are on tires that like below 40 degrees turn into hockey pucks. So it's just so
Well,
sketchy.
did it have new tires? Did it have?
It did have new tires.
Okay, sick.
I picked it up from the dealership before we did it, and it had fresh rubber on it. Different car.
Oh shit!
So we did
okay.
For the Coffee and Donuts, we did an F12. This car was a 458, which in my opinion is like one of the coolest Ferraris. It sounds so good.
It's almost too loud.
Yeah. It had titanium race exhaust on it, and it's one of the best sounding naturally aspirated V8s. But, like, it was so loud that, like, I felt like I had a concussion because it was, like, droney.
Yeah. You had to be, like, really low or, like, really high in the RPMs, but, like, right in the middle it resonated. And, like, yeah, it felt like you had a concussion. It was crazy.
Yeah, so we get to go donate toys to kids at Children's Hospital in Denver. And
you show up in a Ferrari, though?
Dude, there was, like, hundreds of supercars.
Yeah.
What?
Like,
dude, just a line
Oh,
of us.
because it was organized by Ferrari of
How
Denver.
about, but hold on, side tangents. We're in this line of like, dude, 50 like supercars. And obviously everyone coming the opposite way is like, holy, you know,
police escort,
Ferrari,
by the way.
Oh,
just like, and all the top cars you could ever think of are driving in this line. And then people are like looking on the other side and just rear end, dude, dude, this big pile up a crash. And dude, it was just this
on
big
the
drama.
opposite side of the highway or what have you.
Like, dude,
and I felt
don't
so
doubt it.
bad.
Yeah.
So bad. But yeah, we got to go like deliver kids toys that, like, you know, not only are they dealing with stuff that none of us can even begin to imagine,
Right.
but COVID's going on, so they can't even see their families. So, like, seeing these kids through the window while we're, like, bringing these toys, dude, it was like me and Sean, like, both laughed and we, like, looked at each other, like, tears
Tearing
running
up,
down our
yeah.
face. Like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, they couldn't
man.
even come out, but they were like at the window just freaking
like plugged
out.
into all the machine. Dude, it was heartbreaking but heartwarming at the
Right.
same time.
Yeah.
And it was cool because, like, that opportunity popped up through Coffee and Donuts.
Coffee and Donuts. You were pissing off neighbors, and then the next thing, Ferrari of
Dude,
just
Denver
helping kids out.
wants
Yeah.
you to help
Totally.
kids.
What is going on over there?
Left GoPro just.
Yeah, I think maybe. And the right one's got a big old battery signal on it.
So, learning moment. Apparently, the GoPros can't charge and be plugged.
Recorded
Or
at the same-
yeah, I thought that was they could, but
Dude, like, I know this is a tangent and everything, and I went off on a rant about it this morning, but my thing is, okay, so as using Apple Macs and whatnot, like, I'll let my Mac get down, like, super low in power. In fact, it'll turn itself off because I haven't plugged it in because I'm too bloody lazy. But then you plug it in, and it's not the instant, like, okay, I'm awake again.
Yeah.
I need to take 5 fucking minutes to warm up or whatever
Dude,
it does.
insane.
Insane. We are in 2022.
Yeah.
I want to put power into you, and I want you to work.
Dude, I don't know.
I guess phones are the same way
Yeah.
too.
Will you stop crying?
No,
That's some
I am
real
genuine.
stuff.
I know the videos are on here. I'm not really crying. It's just, there's a lot right now.
Yeah,
I
so
can't wait 3 minutes. I can't go make a coffee.
so if you're still with us, apologies for not having the video. This is only our second podcast, and we just learned a lesson.
So all right,
Yeah.
we're coffee and donuts. We have
We
coffee,
did
and,
coffee and
donuts
donuts.
too. Let's skip to getting to our new spot.
yeah,
Oh,
so I
yeah.
guess that's kind of the next big thing. Like we're cruising along up in Lyons. We're having a good old time, and coffee and donuts went off without a hitch. We're busier than ever. Online sales are going crazy. Wholesale's starting to come back. This is the beginning of 2021, and we get an opportunity from our friend Chris, who, after my dad's vacuum store closed, that's where we're getting our coffee delivered. Chris was the guy that used to weld all the Reeb bike frames. So
Yeah.
he became a great friend of mine through that. Like when he built my BMX frame, like I was there every single day because I was just so like blown away by that process. I'm like,
so
you're building
wild, isn't
something
it?
that I'm going to ride. This
Yeah.
is terrifying. You know, like seeing how
Ignorance
simple
is
it was.
bliss.
Oh, dude,
Yeah.
100.
Yeah.
Totally.
You see how the sausage is made. You don't eat the sausage
totally.
anymore, you know? So, yeah, me and Chris become friends through that.
And he was the dude behind the first iteration of the Squeep,
100%.
the full suspension rebike.
Yeah, that exists pretty much because of Chris. Like he pushed the ball along with that. So he left Reeb and he came to the spot that we're in now, and he started a machining prototype company. And he did that for like a year and a half, I think. And he was getting to a point where he was like, hey, like I have all this extra space. I'm paying a lot of money in rent. Do you guys want to move in here? And at the same time, he was kind of teetering back and forth on going to get what I call a real job, not working for himself any longer. And we're like, yeah, that sounds great. Like we're already getting our coffee delivered there. We live in Longmont. Driving to Lyons every day is becoming very tedious. It's like, an hour of a round trip. Yeah, let's do it. So I think it was March of 21. We moved everything into the space we're in now. And yeah, that was insanely cool that we got to do that.
Yeah.
And over the next couple months of being in this place, Chris decides that he is going to leave, go get a real job. And at that same time, Sean had kind of been, or the EWS racing season starts back up. Sean's traveling, so I'm kind of here by myself. Thankfully, Sean's mom is helping out.
Yeah, I hit my mom. She retired, and I was like, you pretty bored?
Yeah.
I
Dude.
really need some help.
I've
So-
been meaning to ask you this. Do you pay your mom?
No, we don't
Oh
pay.
my God!
We don't pay
Dude,
ourselves.
we try and give her coffee and she won't even take it.
Sure.
Yeah, we don't even pay ourselves still.
Well, I know
we
that.
paid ourselves one time.
But
Yeah,
still.
but
yeah.
she'll like be sitting there, and I'll like see her ordering coffee, and I'm just like,
just take it.
I'm not mad, Mom. I'm just disappointed. Like, I'd give this to you for free, but she just wants to support us so bad, and it's like, it's so good.
I know, but
but she
that's,
saved the day.
She
so,
killed
like,
it.
I'm out racing.
Dude, I couldn't have done it. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, we're busier than ever. We have all these collaborations queuing up. Like, at this point in time, we did a collaboration with our friends Errant, which is DJ Brandt and Ethan Nell.
Oh my God, yeah,
The
good friends of
homies.
mine.
Dude.
Yeah, I love those dudes.
We did that. That one went crazy. We did a collaboration with an ex-UFC fighter. He's fighting in the Eagle. I think I don't remember the exact term. It's Eagle something. It's the new league. That's Khabib's league. He's fighting in that league now.
Oh, shit,
Ray
yeah.
Borg.
Ray Borg's a man.
He's the freaking man, dude. We need to get him on here.
Yep.
We did a collaboration with him. Yeah, a bunch of these things are
Ride or
queuing
Die.
up. Yeah, Ride or Die is like.
Hey, I'm going to call you guys out on this one real quick. I was doing a project not too long ago with Mindspark from Canada, and I didn't realize this, but you've got our dog in the US, obviously, as part of Ride or Die.
Yeah.
And then you got the Canucks. And I was talking to them, and I was just like, yeah, dude, I'm homies with the Traction guys. It was super sick that you did Ride or Die stuff. And they were like, they promised us that we'd get coffee. We didn't see shit. They promised us
Dang,
this.
dude.
They promised us that.
Hold on. Shout out our dog for not getting those addresses that I asked for.
That's true.
So I'm putting this fully on Ryan Howard.
We're
I'll put it
going to pass
online
the
for
buck
sure.
100% on that.
Yeah,
one.
it was Nick from Mindspark. And
All
he was
right.
just like, what the F, guys?
Well,
Yeah, so
I'm
I
going to
hope-
get Nick's information from you, and we'll make sure
Yeah,
that
I'll
they
make
get
that happen.
loaded up.
I hope Nick kicks our dog in the shin.
Oh.
But all right, yeah. So bunch of collabs. 2020 is going, or no, 2021 now.
Yeah. The
Killing it.
collaborations and then beer collaborations. Like we did one during COVID with Oscar Blues, which was insane.
Yep.
But 21 rolls around. We're doing collaborations with Loveland Ale Works. We're doing collaborations with New Image. Like these beer collaborations are insane, you know, and like really furthering and cementing the Traction name to people who like are trusting these other brands, which is sick.
So I think we're
The
skipping
GoPros
over-
are freaking out,
Yeah,
man.
GoPros are done. So I think we're skipping over one thing huge. We had a cafe set up
Oh, yeah.
in 2020, and because of COVID,
Go back to before COVID.
Yeah.
Rewind here for a second.
Yeah.
so
We're
working with architects. We have, 2nd and Main, right in downtown Longmont, the prime location.
with some friends of ours that build incredible Sprinter vans. They own this building, and they had approached us about a cafe. And so another one of those like serendipitous things where like things kind of started working out in the right way.
Yep, and we were going to move from Lions to that cafe and have the roastery behind glass walls and this and that. And like everything seemed like it was just rolling so good, making retail margins. Like the amount of money you make
In a cafe,
on a
dude.
cafe versus what we're doing, like it's unreal, on a shot of espresso or a latte. And it seemed like everything was just rolling perfect. Boom, COVID hits.
Yeah.
And obviously, we readjust. We kind of focus on e-commerce, and kind of a blessing in disguise because I think it allowed us to. It feels corny, but follow our heart and like do these collabs with the companies that we wanted to.
We got to really refine the brand and get to a point where we're like, okay, this is who we really are.
Yeah.
We got to figure that out because like at that point we are kind of like forcing into being like, this is who we are.
Totally.
And instead of doing that, like we got to find out, I would say, the hard way of who we really are and who we want to be. And the cafe got backburnered.
Totally. So
And we don't know at this point when that's going to happen
Exactly.
because talking about our buddy Chris, coming back to like
I was
current
about
day.
to say the same thing.
Yeah, talking about our buddy Chris leaving the building that we're currently renting. We're like, all right, he decided to go get a real job.
But there's a $70,000 CNC
Yeah.
landed in the building.
Sitting in front of us. And we're like, I don't know if we can afford the full rent. And right at the same time, this opportunity came up to purchase another company. And I'll let Shawn kind of take the lead here because it really came from him. So,
Yep. So I was on the road, obviously obsessed with coffee, and I was living in a van. So I lived in Boulder for 2 years in a van with my ex, and just to save any dollar I could to race mountain bikes. That's all I cared about. But I loved coffee, so I found this manual espresso press called Espresso Forge, and it's a true 58 mil portafilter, just like you see in the cafes. Just screws on the bottom of the machine. You pour water in, boom, espresso.
Yeah.
But it's 25 cents and not $4 like you see in the cafe. And I had to have it, so I bought it. And a lot of my friends bought it, yada yada. A good friend of mine, Yeti, hit me up and he was like, "Hey, I think we could buy this company and like do something with it. It's something I truly believe in." I didn't even know he had it. So we start looking at the numbers, looking at making it. We have the perfect CNC to make it in this building. So Mike and I, we talk about it, and we pull money out of Traction, and you go in with Whitey to purchase this company. But now Traction's kind of broke, but we have this huge CNC. We have a lathe landed, and it's beautiful, but it's a can of worms.
Yep.
And
the best part is never in any point of Traction's history have we been busier than we are at this point when we decide, oh yeah, we should buy another company.
But it was
This sounds right.
Yeah,
but it
this
felt
sounds
right.
right.
It's like it brings coffee to the mat, like a true espresso, shop quality espresso at an affordable price point. Like you're getting pressure, you're getting these really cool dynamics of like really expensive espresso machines at under $400, and it was just like, we need to bring this to people. Like
Right.
they don't need to spend $4,000 to have pressure profiling and like to have beautiful espresso. So like,
Well, I also think that it kind of, with Espresso Forge, with it being that economically attainable product, it also speaks to Traction. I mean, like, think about you guys at the bottom level. You were a couple skate park kids that rode BMX together.
Yep.
The cheapest kind of cycling you can do is
100%.
BMX, right? You get out there, and I'm not saying cheap as far as with regards to the Espresso Forge. I'm saying that it's an economically viable solution to be able to get that crazy
But you know what's funny about we say that it's like, yeah, it's like the cheapest, but like my BMX bike hasn't changed in 10 years. And I love it. I still think it's like up to date.
Stout.
Dude,
but it's so simple.
It's so
right?
simple. But like my mountain bike,
simplistic.
it's like every year there's a new thing. Like,
Oh my God.
I got new, high speed compression dampening, or like a new valving, and like, which is good.
There's
like
a
I love
new
it.
air chamber in your Fox Fork.
Totally. But like the thing with the Espresso Forge, it's built for life. Like you will give this thing to your grandson.
Yep.
Like it does the top of the line, espresso needs, and it literally it will outlive you.
Yeah. Which is sick, right? Like the fact that like that gets to exist, and something that I don't think we even realized when we were embarking on buying Espresso Forge. But we understand it now. We have incredible coffee. We get to showcase incredible coffee.
Yeah.
And we have a tool that we make 100% in the United States,
In
literally
this
right
same
next
building.
to where we roast coffee.
right.
Like we get raw metal, like chunks of metal, and we have a freaking CNC machine that cuts it out. Like I don't think most people,
Just like you get raw coffee beans delivered to the same place.
Yeah, I don't think most people, like, we had somebody in here not too long ago that, like, I was showing them a forge, and they're like, oh, that's cool. And then we, like, walked out there, and they saw the CNC machine. They're like, well, what's this for? And I was like, no, we're, like, getting blocks of metal and cutting that stuff out and making that. And then, like, I could see that thing click in their head. And, like, but we didn't really realize, like, when we went to an event with both of these companies, like, what kind of value or what kind of, like, I don't even know what the word I'm looking for, like, people just approach us differently now at events because they don't even know what's going on. Whereas before we were just a coffee company. That's cool.
Do you think we're control freaks? Because it's like sourcing our metal, sourcing our beans.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Like knowing that like
100%.
that metal's like chemical free, like just everything, like that nice stainless 304 stainless. Like I'm just kind of realizing right now, it's like,
But
I don't know.
like, what other aspects of life do you get to have the amount of control that we get to have in our business? Like, I heard a few years ago somebody say, and this is like one of the most, like, I feel like cool things I've ever heard about business, but like starting your own business is creating your own utopia.
Yeah.
And that's really what we've done every step of the way, is like we're creating something in a world that we want to live in.
Yep.
We want to know where our coffee comes from. We want to know where the metal comes from. We want to have a handle on our branding. Like every little bit of it, we get to say, yeah, we did that.
Yep.
And it's not like some random agency that's like, here's how you need to sell to people.
Yep.
No, we're doing it as real as possible. That is very controlling. Like it's cool that we get to do that, because I don't think a lot of people want to have that level of ownership, because that's kind of really what it is at the end of the day. It's like a high level of ownership. We're not passing the buck to somebody else. Like,
your phone doesn't turn off at 5.
yeah, exactly. And not, like, we're not saying like, hey, random agency, design something for us.
Yep.
Oh, if that sucked, that's your fault, random agency. If it sucks, it's our fault.
Totally.
Same thing with the Espresso Forge. If the design sucks, it's our fault.
Totally.
If the metal sourcing sucks, it's our fault.
Yep.
So it's a higher level of ownership, which is cool. Like, I've never thought about it that way, like you're saying, but it's true. It's kind of cool. So yeah, we have 2 companies now.
So here we are, 2 companies.
No, I like that.
That we're proud of. It's like, I don't know. It feels right. Like looking back, like you were saying, like, yeah, we had a lot on our plate, and maybe it was a dumb idea, but it feels right.
Yeah.
It's like it does. Like when we do those events, like people see it, and like we get to show them, hey, this is brewed coffee. This is a Guatemala brewed, and this is on espresso. And like that was a really cool thing. And like,
and also that espresso that you just tasted, the machine that made it, we made that too.
Totally.
That's
So,
crazy, right?
yeah,
like
It's fucking insane.
And that's another one of those things, like going back to the imposter syndrome. Like there's days where I'm like, dude, how did we do all of this?
And you
like
break
it
a
doesn't
bit
feel
and it's
real.
just like,
It doesn't
your
feel
headaches.
real, dude.
Totally.
But it's happening,
No.
which is sick.
It's just like fake it till you make it, And like I think so many people are capable of so much, and it's more of like all you have to do is just, dude, the internet's nuts, right? It's just like there's so much out there. And
Well,
like,
that's the beauty of the world just ever, but especially now more than ever, is you can literally do anything you want to do.
Yeah.
You just have to start somewhere, like you have to just do that thing. And fortunately, again, I'll relate it back to bikes. Like we understand that starting somewhere is the beginning of something great.
Yep.
Starting somewhere, it doesn't have to be anything in specific, but just we started somewhere.
Totally.
And we've ended up where we're standing now, and like kind of telling the story. It's like whoa, we've done a lot of crazy, wild things. How are we standing here right now?
Yep.
And like even talking about like buying Espresso Forge, while that's happening, like we've been in this space at that point for like 8 months, and we're like, oh, our landlord tells us we might have to move.
Dude, yeah.
And
I was literally just thinking about that. I was like, all right, let's, we've been talking for so long, and like we've skipped over so much, and it's like, how do we wrap up the last 3 years? Like, what is the most, like, looking back, what is the most crucial thing you could say, like, that you've learned over the past, 3 or 4 years to, like, inspire someone?
I mean, I think, and this is something that my buddy Dale that I talked about at the beginning of this podcast that started Oscar Blues, like, this is something that he told me one time, and like we had just bumped into each other. Me and Cheyenne, my wife, were going out to get dinner, and we bumped into him at Cyclops, which is a taco spot here in Longmont. And he was like, can I sit down and have a beer with you guys? And of course, yeah, we'd love that, dude. Yeah. So we're sitting there talking, and like Sean was out of town racing or doing something. I can't remember. I think that was Big Sky.
Yeah.
So it was 2021 probably. Yep. And like everything was going wrong. We were still in Lions. Like
the roaster broke.
The roaster was broken. Like there was just everything was going wrong, and I was so defeated. And I was telling him that, and I was like, dude, I don't even know why the fuck am I still showing up? And he told me, he's like, if you continue to show up, that's when things start to work, because everybody backs out when it gets hard. And that's when it really started to click for me. Like saying that, it's like, what have we learned? It's like, if you show up every day, even on the shitty days, there's days that you want to stay in bed and just like fucking cry because like everything sucks.
Yeah.
If you show up on that day, that's another day that you're taking a step forward.
Yep.
And I think a lot of that gets lost in translation for people when they hit those really hard walls. They're like, dude, I'm done with this.
Yep.
And it's easy to do that when you don't have a foundation to fall back on. And thankfully we do with riding bikes, and like we are so personally invested in this business, but a lot of people don't have that. So if I can say one thing that I've learned, it's just showing up when it gets hard. And like doing the same thing over and over, like you're not insane for doing that. You're just creating something great, right? Like I think there's a lot of value in understanding that.
Totally. I guess, like on my side, it's same kind of thing, just said different. And going back to that sense of urgency, like, I was racing, I had, this many hours of racing to do, and I need to go roast and this, and like my most productive days were the things that felt so scattered, but I was like, I need to do this by 3. And like every time I've had this sense of urgency, I like achieve greatness.
Yeah.
Whereas like if everything's like set out and perfect, it's just like it's too easy, and like I get lackadaisical.
Yep.
So I think no matter what you're doing, for me, if I can put this sense of urgency and be like, give yourself 3 hours to do it instead of 3 days.
Yep.
You'll get the fuck done.
Set a deadline. And
Yep.
even if you procrastinate all the way up to that deadline,
Totally.
you're going to get it done before that deadline
Exactly.
hits. Because I'm that way. I know you are.
Yeah.
You're probably that way too, James.
100%.
Like,
Jesus.
Like you have all the projects looming.
Yeah.
And if you don't set the deadlines adequately, like next thing you know, you're staying up for 72 hours trying to get everything done all at the same time.
Yeah. I mean, like last night, Sean and I were filming some stuff for Espresso Forge, and I was like, yo, what's your deadline for yourself on getting these new clips onto the website or whatever you're doing with these new clips? He's like, I don't know, 2 weeks. I was like, sick. Keep it to those 2 weeks then, because that's what's going to drive us.
Totally.
But as we're kind of like rounding this out, and we're talking about like now that you guys are where you are, we're in Longmont, we've got the space, got a podcast room. This is amazing. But we've come away with one thing for sure is a new marketing thing with regards to Espresso Forge is as stout as a BMX. But who would you say was the best, and just for you personally, not monetarily, but the best collab that you guys have done so far?
That's a good question.
I'm
going to have to say Ride or Die, because I think that really solidified that collaborations meant something to people other than us. Like, we really love the idea of doing collaborations, but up until that point, I don't think that it resonated with us that like people outside of Sean or I enjoyed that. When we did that first Ride or Die collaboration, we ordered like, I don't even know, 150 t-shirts, and they went within like 2 days.
It was nuts.
And I remember like sitting there looking at each other being like, dude, what just like, we've been in business for almost 2 years, and like we haven't sold 150 t-shirts. We just did that in 2 days.
It was just, we did these, like, obviously we have a in-house laser engraver, which was a terrible idea in the beginning, but it was just like, hey, you're losing money.
Comes back to the control freak thing.
Control freak. It was just like, we were never going to make money on this thing, but it was just like, hey, like, if we can make something custom and make someone feel special, that's all I care about. You know what I mean? Because they're part of our family. So I remember we made all these custom boxes for Ride or Die, and it was like Brett Reeder, Thomas Vanderham, our dog, yada,
sick,
yada, yada.
as a side note, sick mountain bikers, like insane
It's
cyclists.
the people you look
The
up
Michael
to your whole
Jordans.
life.
The Michael Jordans in our world.
And
yeah.
I had these, they were empty boxes, but it was just like this Ride or Die, like our little Reaper dude sitting in a rocking chair with all these names on it. And it just gave me goosebumps. It's like thinking that we were going to ship that coffee to those people and like
childhood heroes.
Yeah, and have them enjoy our coffee. And it's like a very special thing. It's like that's our interpretation on those coffees. And yeah, like it made it feel very real. Like this is a real brand. This is a real thing we're doing. And like, we're going to fucking kill it.
I think the other thing that made that collaboration so special for me personally was that I did all the, like, that was the first like illustration and art that I had ever like done for a t-shirt for us.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
So like everything else had either been a logo tee, coffee and donuts. We had Jack Schur like do that,
Oh my God.
Which
let's just take a
freaking
side
man.
note and talk about that dude for a second.
Absolute legend.
I need to bring you up to his house.
We
Like,
need to
he's
get him
come up.
on here.
Oh,
He would
Dude,
be a
That's a good
sick
idea.
it would
dude.
be so insane. Like my brother lives in Amsterdam, and Jack's about to have a art installation or a exhibition
Gallery,
over there.
yeah.
Gallery, yeah. And I'm like texting my brother like, "Yo, might not be your vibe, but you've got to go see this dad bod exhibition."
Dude, he's
That's so
amazing. I love that
sick.
you came up to his house. He just
Oh,
had a
dude.
kid, and like he has, like you were saying, this dad bod exhibition about him becoming a dad, and he did our art for Coffee and Donuts, and he's been just a huge inspiration
good
and like a
dude.
huge help of just someone to know. And actually, just a side note, someone who I looked up to in biking, like when I grew up in mountain biking, Jack was it in Boulder County. Like,
So sick.
if you rode mountain bikes as a young kid in Boulder in the late 90s, early 2000s, Jack Schur was the next World Cup star. And he would do these like manual sit down no-handed manuals and let a stop sign hit his bars, bar spin, catch it, and keep manualing. And for those that don't know mountain bikes, like that is unheard of. I've never seen anything like it.
I've never seen that before.
And it's never been done. Like Jack had this way with bikes that's never been done before, and like he would not even like let that know. And he's like the most egoless person. He'd be like, I didn't do that.
No, yeah.
But, yeah.
And then like going back to, and again, we can get back on traction in a second, but yeah, talking about Jack, it's like going up to his house. First time I met Jack and his wife, it wasn't a handshake, it was a hug.
Yeah.
Like you walk in the door, they're the most legit, just amazing humans that you've really ever met. But
That's so, I mean, I've never met the dude, but like I can just tell through his work that it's so soulful.
Yeah.
And that's like another big thing that I think that I can take away from the last few years that we've done. It's like we've poured our fucking souls into this. Like every piece of like who we are as humans is ingrained into this business. And so seeing what he's doing, like you can see that. Like it's so transparent that like everything he does is like with every ounce of his soul. And that goes so far, dude. Like, I don't know.
yeah,
That's sick.
well, no, that kind of tangents us into the next bit that I was thinking about. But with regards to, so what's next? I know that's a
It's a loaded question. But
loaded question.
I mean, obviously Sean talked about the cafe briefly. Like that's something that's still on our radar. We always
cold
say,
brew coming.
yeah, we have, technically it's cold,
Flash
it's
brew.
cold coffee, but it's snap chilled, which is exciting. It's coffee in a can, 12-ounce can. So that's coming very soon.
And then is that
going
to be sold online, or is that?
It'll be sold online.
Sick.
We're trying to pick up some more like regional retailers. I have a pretty good relationship at Whole Foods, so I think that's going to be something we start pursuing a little more heavily over the next couple months. Bigger events.
roaster.
Yeah, bigger roaster is super necessary. For reference, we still roast on our original roaster, which at the time when we bought it was a huge treat. Still is a treat that we have that roaster. It's insane, but it's a 6-pound roaster, and Yeah, we're roasting all of our coffee 6 pounds at a time. Each roast takes, 12 to 15 minutes?
15 minutes. But the reason why it's handmade in Nevada, very, nice cast iron. So you have a lot of control over the roast.
It's a workhorse.
So it's hard to go from it, like we're only going to go to that quality. Like there's bigger roasters with less quality that we could buy, but we want to make sure that we're keeping that quality and buy, that same company. Like
the amount of hours that we've put behind that thing and never had it like actually break. Like we've had a fuse pop, but like never had a motor go out, knock on wood. Nothing. It just keeps freaking going.
And our importer, it was insane. He hit us up and was like, hey, you're in one of our top wholesale accounts, and we got a bunch of free stuff from them. And he was like, I don't know how you're doing that because you're on a 6 pound roaster.
You're on a 6.
And just looking
insane.
back, it's like if I was roasting, Mike was roasting, like we're just batch after batch after batch, but like it's a beautiful thing at the same time. It's it's like
think about it this way. It's like we can do at most about 20 pounds of coffee an hour.
Yep.
Some weeks we're doing 800 to 1,000 pounds of coffee in the week.
I don't want to talk about those weeks. Those are bad weeks.
So just like just think about that for a second. That's a lot of fucking time behind that.
But it
roaster.
just stays so legit, and it just stays with that heart and that emotion, and it is where you're leading with your heart. You're not leading with the anticipation of becoming rich and famous from roasting coffee. You're doing it because you want to do it on this specific roaster. And it's going to take you way longer. And trust me on this one, do not break down your man hours per hour per bean or like
I control every ounce of costs that we have. Like I know margins for everything, but I won't even put a number to like, I won't even say like, oh, if we paid ourselves $15 an hour, this is how much our man hours would be, because I just don't want to
You just can't do the labor. But I do want to, I got a couple other things, but one of the ones I want to talk about is you, I think it was you, Mike, real briefly mentioned you've been paid once over this last like almost 4 years, right? And what did you guys do that evening?
Oh, dude. So this was a tough evening for me because that was the night here in Colorado. What was that? December 27th?
When the fire was?
Yeah. So there was a fire that destroyed 1,000 homes. And we're sitting in my apartment. It was me, Sean, and my wife, Cheyenne. And we're drinking mezcal, margaritas, having a good old time. We got this amazing Thai food from a place in Longmont called Mana Thai. And we're celebrating, but, less than 6 miles from here, people are losing their homes. So, like, there was that little bit of emotion involved. Like, man, like it sucks that we're sitting here celebrating while there's people losing everything that they have. So that was a tough night, but it was so sick to be able to celebrate and be like, dude, we've worked for 3 years and 3 months at that point for this exact moment. And we didn't pay ourselves a lot by any means. Like,
it's nothing.
It was like basically a 1 month salary, roughly, probably not even that, like, but it was sick to see like, oh, we can pay ourselves a little bit amount of money and the company can still continue on healthy.
Right.
But I guess something to go back, it was more of the, just the act of it.
Yeah.
Versus like, obviously we could have done it, but it would have put the business in a very, back foot position. But what most people don't know is we took a lot of money out of Traction to start Espresso Forge. So we were already on the back foot. So to, recover from that and still pay ourselves, like it was nothing, but it was just the act of it. And it was just like more of a celebration between Mike and I than actually to like pay your bills. And it was like, hey, like,
it was like, look what we did.
Yeah.
Like totally. This, again, it's that thing where it's like, holy shit, like we turned something that we were very passionate about into a way to like pay us, even if it's a insignificant amount of money, it still paid us a little bit of money. And like that was enough to say like, dude, we put 3.5 years in and we got this little bit out, like, cool.
Do you know what else you guys got out of that? It's a hell of a hangover. Because
I
remember I called Sean, I guess it would have been the 28th, and I was over in England and I was spending Christmas with my mum. And and I called Sean just to catch up on some stuff. I'm like, yo, what are you up to, boo? He's just like, Jamesy. Oh, Jesus, Jamesy. I'm so hungover. And it was like 6 p.m. your time.
Dude, it was bad. We did like a bottle and a half of mezcal, and I think Cheyenne had like a glass.
Yeah. The next day, she's like, is Sean all right? Like, but
I was like, I don't know, dude. I'm not all right.
I don't care about Sean.
But the thing is, like, for racing, like I had been not that I hadn't got drunk, but like I was pretty dead set sober for so many years. Like obviously
you're not a
like
big drinker for sure.
And dude, that next day I was like, oh my gosh, I guess I'm binging
Good
Yellowstone.
thing we didn't have to come to work the next day.
Oh
we like
my
took a couple days off. It was like Christmas break, you know. So,
but
yeah, we went for it.
But I mean, cheers to that night, and like
Yeah.
I think we earned it. You know, like 3 years of that internship, we didn't pay ourselves.
Yep.
We put it all back into the business, and like.
And it is cool to see, like, you know, when we turned 3, we didn't really do much of a celebration. We didn't even realize it. We realized it that day.
Yeah.
We were like, holy shit, like, this is our 3-year anniversary. We did, like, a little live Instagram check-in. Like, it was sick. But it was really cool. Like, you know, so many people, we're fortunate enough to have so many friends that are either professional athletes or very successful business people. And a lot of those people have told us, like, once you get to 3 years, it gets easier. You know?
Oh, right.
And like, you know, so many businesses fail before they even get to that 3-year mark. If you can get there, like generally there's a lot of upside after that. And like, I don't know. I always think about those kind of moments like, oh, it's just a figure, whatever. We hit that 3-year mark and like, it kind of feels like we were like going up the hill on a roller coaster.
Yeah.
You know? And then we crested it at 3 years and like started like going down and it's like, we paid ourselves. Wow.
Totally.
And like sales are coming a little easier. Wow. Like, this is crazy. Like we're kind of like doing it. This is becoming
the name's
a little
been
more real.
established.
Yeah.
And like
Yeah.
I guess to like round it out for me, it's still nuts to go on a bike ride and see people in traction tees and like identifying with the brand.
Or just
Oh.
like randomly driving down the road and seeing a traction sticker on a car. Or
like just shout out to all those people. Like you have no idea,
Dude,
how much that means. Like I see people out in the parking lot, even just saying like how much they love a roast, and I like dig through my car, like, do I have a hat? Do I have
Dude,
a
it's
bag
insane.
of coffee? And like, truly, you have no idea how much that means. And like, just yeah, I don't know. It gives
means
me
a
goosebumps
lot,
even
yeah.
thinking about having someone rock our brand on their back.
I've been all around the world and I've seen traction shirts here and there.
which
you
is
know.
bizarre,
It's
dude.
so
Like,
wild.
it's just in like going off of what Sean said, like I feel so fortunate when I know somebody, like I know how hard it is to make money. And when you're talking about spending $30 on a t-shirt or a hat or $16 on a bag of coffee, like that's a lot of money. You
Hell
know?
yeah,
So
yeah.
for somebody to spend their hard-earned money with us, like that does not go unnoticed. Like that literally is it's so special for us. Every time like an online order comes through, like I do a little fucking happy dance, honestly. Like it's sick, dude, to know that like you bust your ass all day long and like you choose to spend your money with us, like that's insane. So
Especially when someone puts a note in there.
Oh,
I
dude,
love
this
that.
is
Yeah,
where
yeah.
I was about to
Yeah.
ask. Okay, I got two things, but the
Yeah,
first
let's wrap
one
it
is,
up.
yeah. So with regards to that, with the notes, and before I even like really knew you, Sean, and especially before I knew you, Mike, one of the homies that I used to wrench at a bike shop, and the kid down there, he was just a little brother to me, and he would rock the traction stuff, and he would get so fucking amped. He would buy your coffee, he'd buy the shirts, he just loves your brand, and he would get so amped with that note.
Really?
When do you think that you'll ever stop doing those notes?
I hope not.
I hope not. Yeah.
I mean, we always said like, oh, there's going to be a point when we get too busy and we can't do the notes. And I feel like we passed that point a year probably plus
There's some
ago.
days where I'm like you see like the orders coming out, but then you get into them and you see these names, you see names that you know, and some of the notes they write,
Or
and like
new
you
names
get
that
into
you've
it.
never seen before.
Yeah, the new names are so sick, and it's like I hope you're having a wonderful day because it's like you're almost like connecting with this person you've never met before, and like I don't know, it's like when they're coming out of the machine, you're like shit, and then you like get into it, and I like get so into it, I love it.
Yeah. And just for reference, I mean, you probably have guessed it from, you know, this whole conversation, but like literally anytime one of those notes gets written, it's either Sean or I. Everything that is traction outside of the help, the insane amount of help that his mom is, like everything is Sean or I, which is crazy that like, you know, we still want to do those notes. Like I wouldn't have, if you would have told me 3 years ago we would be seeing the volume that we are now and that we'd still be writing notes, I'd be like, dude, you're high if you think I'm doing that. But again, it goes back to that thing of like, dude, somebody's spending their hard-earned money with us. Like I want them to know that they're special, because like when I order from a company and I get a handwritten note, like I feel like I'm a part of that. And like we want people to know that that you're not a customer.
Yeah.
And you're not a fan of traction. You are a part of the family. And what better way to show that than be like, dude, here's some stickers, and like we really are. We're not putting a stamp on there. We're not having like an intern write our notes. Like,
no,
it's Shawn or I putting the ink on the paper, saying like, dude, thank you so much.
And when you guys get one of these notes, you'll definitely believe that's true because the handwriting is fucking awful. Hey, but now I've still got two
so
things.
true, though.
Let's wrap it up.
No, I've still got two more. Okay, so each of you, when those notes come through on your Shopify machine or what have you, and it says the name of who it's going to, who has been the biggest one for each of you that you've looked at and you're like, wait, who? Are you fucking kidding me?
Biggest name that's come through?
For
or
you,
most impactful?
Most impactful, biggest, whatever was stoked for you. Not so much the biggest because whatever.
All right.
All right.
Oh,
I think
I'll let
I know
you go
Sean's.
first.
All right. I know we were about to flip a table when Ryan came through.
Yeah, Ryan Nyquist. That was gonna be
dude.
Yeah.
Oh, dude.
I was in Moab. I was having just a shitty day for like stupid reasons, and my phone like went off, and I like clicked the thing, and it said Ryan Nyquist, and like. My day went 180 from there. My wife was like, dude, why are you smiling like that? Like, you were just pissed off. And I'm like, dude, this is real. Like, it's in North Carolina. That's where he lives. Like, this is real. And we sent him a bunch of really cool shit, and he gave us so much love for that. And like, he became a homie through that, which is sick. So
I say we just keep it with that.
Yeah.
Just Ryan.
I mean,
I want to throw in an honorable mention for you guys, but if you've got,
I was just gonna say, the coolest person in my eyes that we've ever sent coffee to, they didn't order it, but we sent them coffee, is Mike Aiken, who is like the greatest of all time BMX rider. So I just wanted to put that one out there.
About him. Yeah, totally.
He doesn't pay for coffee. He gets coffee for free for life.
Well, who were you going to say?
I'm going to throw an honorable mention to Valley Hull.
I was thinking Valley. She liked our story.
She just messaged us, actually. Yeah. She liked an Espresso Forge post, and she messaged us. I asked how she was doing, and she responded. I haven't gotten back to her yet or seen what she said.
So for the viewers and for the listeners, check out Valley. She's an insane mountain biker. Cream of the crop. She's coming through, but that one was one when Sean, I think you told me, you were just like, she just ordered coffee from us. I'm like, she lives in Austria.
Yeah. And she will be the next biggest person in downhill mountain biking.
Sick.
Like the next biggest world champion, back-to-back world champion. So she's a badass, and every World Cup I'm cheering for her.
Yeah.
It just,
she seems like she's going to have a good season this year too, just based off of like our conversation back and forth today. Like she's freaking fired up.
They're killing it over there. But all right, so this is the last thing. Let's round this out. But we've talked about your celebration. So you won your Up in Lions, pouring espresso shots. Then you got number 2, coffee and donuts, pissing off the neighbors. Number 3, kind of came around as a surprise for you guys. Number 4, we're coming up on number 4, right? My math's right. Do you guys have any ideas what you want to do for number 4 yet?
No, I would like to do another really cool car video. I'd like to do a couple things.
Yeah.
So
I want to do a collab with RDOG with Little Trucks. We got that Chevy Love coming.
Mm-hmm.
The V8 swapped a Chevy Love.
That's your personal vehicle.
My personal, it's my project vehicle that maybe never will be finished, but
we got to get it done for the 4-year anniversary.
Yeah.
You put the deadline on it.
Yeah.
We're putting deadlines on things.
So I think that's kind of like what's up for 4 years. We have, like we said earlier, the Snap Chill cans coming, some really exciting stuff coming down the pipeline. We have a really badass collaboration coming out in
Shadow,
May. Shadow BMX, where I think it's their 20th anniversary. So I just ordered the T-shirts for that today. That's coming out on Friday the 13th.
I've seen really the artwork exciting for those.
Dude,
it's mind-boggling.
When I engraved that mug, I was just like, this is the coolest mug.
That's another one of those things, like talking about Nyquist, like thinking about like 16-year-old me, like thinking about these opportunities. 1, I didn't even know that they could even exist. And 2, working with a brand that's as cool as Shadow. Like, dude, it's a dream come true. Like literally, I said earlier, it's like creating your own utopia. Like we're fully living in the utopia right now. So, I mean, if you've made it this far, thank you so much. We're 2 hours and 15 minutes into.
Oh, no kidding.
Just jabber John over here, but this has been fun. Like I'm excited for what the future is. The next few episodes are going to be like an interview, basically similar to this, but really unpacking Sean's story of who Shawn Neer is, his story getting into coffee, riding bikes, everything in between to where he is now. And then the next episode will be the same thing, but for me. So, yeah, we're excited for that. If you guys have any questions, let us know.
Stokoe, thank you for your English accent and everything you've done today.
Yeah, man.
Can't thank you enough.
Well, yeah, I'll be honest. I'm kind of bummed out that the GoPros went out because the only thing I've got going for me is this emo look.
All right.
We'll get that squared away for next time.
Well, thank you guys for joining us. Scared of Normal, episode 2.
Yeah,
we're out.
I think that's a wrap. So we'll see you next time.
All right. Take it easy.